Live from the KIJU studios in beautiful Ogasawara, this is the Monster Island Film Vault, episode 79, Bex vs. Jurassic Park. Hello, Kaiju lovers, and welcome to the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu. I am your host, Monster Island's, at the moment anyway, Media Master, Nate Marchand. And yes, Jet Jaguar is still in the producer booth. I barely understood anything you just said, but I think you're talking about pinch hitting, right? Hey, calm down, man, okay? I'm sorry. I'm still reading Jimmy's manual, okay? I need to get Jimmy back in the booth. I miss Jimmy. But speaking of missing people on this show, I have a special guest here, as usual, here on the Monster Island Film Vault. It is the host, or is it hostess? I'm not sure. She can tell me which word she prefers here in a second, of the Redeemed Otaku YouTube channel and podcast, Becky Bex Smith.
The hostess with the mostest, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, we're starting it early, but you're real, right?
I am real. At least I think I am. So
I was just gonna say, the last time I thought I podcasted with a Bex, it
was a bit of a trip.
Yeah, it turned into a harrowing adventure that I had to tell you about afterward.
At least not for me, it was.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. You know, you got here late, and for those who don't remember, you were supposed to be here for Mothra 1961 for Godzilla Redux. And the Bex I broadcasted with was not you.
No.
And then my pseudo-sister had to take her out.
I feel very cheated because I didn't get to talk about Mothra. So I think you need to do like a Mothra Redux Part 2 or something like that.
I feel like I owe it to you at this point because I'm sorry. I mean, but yeah. So anyway, I guess the one good thing, if you want to call it that, she's been weirdly excited about this, is she now has an arch nemesis. As much as I love superheroes, sometimes I don't know what goes through their heads.
Isn't it Unbreakable where they talk about how a superhero isn't a hero without his arch nemesis or something like that?
I think it is Unbreakable.
I mean, I don't know the exact quote, but go watch Unbreakable if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, I mean, you should. But,
yeah.
I mean, you're also her best friend in Senpai, which I'm still trying to figure out how that works.
Yeah. I wear many hats.
As I can tell you.
Today I'm wearing my pith helmet because I figured, you know what, we're going on an adventure today on a little safari.
Yeah, talking about the competition.
Yes.
But I'm glad you came here and not to Jurassic Park to talk about Jurassic Park.
You know, I've been waiting for the invite, and they've never invited me. So,
well, that sounds like them. I mean, they have a very bad safety track record.
True.
Let's be honest.
I get that. But I mean, come on, dinosaurs.
But we have kaiju, and we've only had one major security issue. Yes, it involved an alien invasion that nearly brought about the end of the world, but okay, come on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that got resolved.
Disco Space Nuts, okay? So. We get it.
So, yeah, before I was able to come to the island, they had to authenticate me, right? So they had to take my DNA, blood, urine, mouth swab, nasal swab. So if I sound a little stuffy, it's because they gave me a nasal swab. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So if there isn't a clone of me, there probably is by now from what all they took. So
there kind of was.
But she wasn't a clone. She was a mimic. See, there's a difference.
She was a mimic, yes. But she needed your DNA apparently to do it.
She did. Well, they got plenty of my DNA this time around too. So But thankfully, Jess was there to make sure that I am me, and they treated me right. and I made it here to the island, and I'm ready to talk about my favorite movie.
Right. She asked you all the questions that only she knows about, right?
She did, all the secret questions that only I...
questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I am sad to see that Jimmy's not here.
Oh.
So...
Well...
I haven't had too much experience
We'll talk after the show.
I haven't had much experience with Jet, but, since Jimmy trusts him, then I'll trust him.
I mean, look at that big smile he's got on his face. I mean, he's just always smiling. I think he was saying thank you for the compliment. I'm still learning Jet speak right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy is fluent in it, but I'm still learning. But yeah. But he's a superhero robot, so you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. He's a big fan favorite with the kids around here, so.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, all the Kennys.
All the Kennys.
Yes, quite. All right. As we've already been hinting at, we're here to talk about Jurassic Park. Yes, the competition to Monster Island. Yep. Because not only do you love anime and magical girls, and I got you sucked into Mothra, and apparently Gamera made you cry.
Yes.
So
yes.
You also love Jurassic Park.
Love Jurassic Park and dinosaurs, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and we should also mention, apparently, military aviation.
Yep, military aviation, Legos, Pokemon.
Yeah, but
Skyrim
Pokemon makes sense because it's anime.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Oh, and Jesus.
And Jesus, yes.
We need to make sure we mention
Never forget him. Yes. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Depending on how long you stay here, you can go to a service at the Monster Island Chapel with Reverend Mifune. They're fun, let me tell you.
I will have to go and visit Reverend Mifune because he helped me out one time. So.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He's a good man. He's a good man. But yes, we're here to talk about kaiju. Oh, not excuse me. We're here to talk about Jurassic Park. Oops, I forgot to play this. America, 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 Ameri-kaiju. And now back to the show. People might be wondering, it's like, why is the end of Ameri-kaiju not going chronologically? Because this is backtracking. Because we talked about a 2018 movie with Rampage, and now we're backing up, and normally we do things chronologically around here. I'm like, because it's mother trucking Jurassic Park, okay? If we're gonna end this series, we're gonna end on a bang.
Look, Jurassic Park is timeless because we're coming up on its 30-year anniversary.
Yes, we are.
And I watched it when it celebrated its 25th anniversary, and they released it in theaters and formatted it for 3D. And I tell you what, it was a brand new experience and just as good. And I expect that they will do that again for the 30th, and I will be there.
I actually hope they do, and I'm sure Raymond will negotiate some sort of a deal so that the island, the powers that be, will be willing to screen it here despite it being the competition.
Excellent.
So I will make sure to go check that out as well because I do want to experience this in a theater. Our screening room here is nice, but as I keep learning every time I go see an old film in the theater, doesn't matter how old it is, doesn't matter how janky those special effects are.
Yep.
They're just better on the big screen. They really are.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, along with that, since this is Monster Island and I am friends with some of the scientists around here, we're going to talk about the science of Jurassic Park. And let's just say it's a little bit suspect, depending on who you talk to. Although that could just be the angry kaijuologist around here. I'm not sure. Because, You know what? I'll save that question for when we actually talk about the movie. But let's just say there is a certain debate that came up on a certain podcast that I am friends with, and the hosts went on a very long tangent about this question, and their poor guest, who was Kaiju Kim, just kind of sat there just like, eh. Are you guys done?
Poor Kim.
Poor Kim.
She didn't deserve that.
She didn't. She didn't. There are reasons one of these hosts keeps getting canceled by her.
Oh, no.
You know who you are.
Oh, boy.
See the net for now, because I'm going to mention you by name later. Anyway. Let's get to that entertaining info dump. I am no longer contractually obligated to read it, but Jimmy is still writing these things from jail. It's like prison epistles.
It's kind of like something you're known for, so you got to do it now.
It's tradition.
It's tradition. Exactly.
So we have to keep it going. So let's get to that, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty with this movie.
Woohoo!
Jurassic Park is populated by various species of cloned dinosaurs, all of which were created female and presumed to be unable to reproduce. All of them are portrayed mostly as animals acting on instinct and not as vicious monsters, although that line is sometimes blurred. The herbivores, Brachiosaurus, Gallimimus, Parasaurolophus, and Triceratops, are concerned with feeding and, as is eventually discovered, tending to their young. The carnivores, Dilophosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and Velociraptor, hunt down other dinosaurs and any humans for food, often stalking and attacking their prey with brutal and determined ferocity. Dr. Alan Grant is the intelligent and skeptical paleontologist invited to Isla Nublar to observe the dinosaurs. He has a disdain for children that slowly erodes over the course of the film. He has a budding relationship with the excited and clever Dr. Ellie Sattler, a paleobotanist who is brought in to also observe the park's cloned dinosaurs. Dr. Ian Malcolm is a cynical but brilliant mathematician specializing in chaos theory who frequently speaks against the very idea of the park, saying they are playing God. The enthusiastic and passionate Dr. John Hammond is the park's wealthy creator seeking to not only make money but also to expand science and astonish parkgoers with his attractions. But his passions blind him to the dangers and pitfalls. Robert Muldoon is the park's grizzled and pragmatic game warden striving to protect the guests who've gotten trapped inside the park. The smarmy and cowardly Donald Gennaro is a lawyer sent by the park's investors to investigate its safety and report back to them. Tim and Lex Murphy are Hammond's wide-eyed and clever grandchildren, a brother and sister, who join in the tour of the park and help in the escape in surprising ways. The disgruntled and deceptive Dennis Nedry is a technician seeking to steal dinosaur embryos to sell to a corporate rival because he feels he is unappreciated and underpaid by Hammond. The human and kaiju plotlines are largely unified, but there are several unrelated subplots developed while the protagonists are stranded in the park. Grant learns to appreciate children thanks to Tim and Lex, and has something of a relationship blossom with Sattler. Malcolm also tried to flirt with Sattler, creating some romantic tension. Otherwise, their actions are connected to evaluating the park or escaping Isla Nublar. Nedry sabotages the park's computers, deactivating the security system and cutting the power so he can steal the aforementioned embryos. This allows various dinosaurs to escape their cages. A T-Rex attacks Grant, Malcolm, the kids, and Gennaro, eating the lawyer, and the rest of the group, aside from an injured Malcolm, barely escape in a jeep. Sattler and Muldoon find Malcolm and are chased away by the T-Rex. Nedry is accosted by a Dilophosaurus while trying to escape with the embryos. Grant and the kids take refuge in a tree and discover the shells of dinosaur eggs. Grant concludes the amphibian DNA in them allowed them to reproduce asexually. Hammond and his chief engineer, Ray Arnold, are unable to decipher Nedry's code and reboot the park's systems. The group takes refuge in a bunker while Arnold goes to complete the rebooting process. It's discovered that the raptors escaped during the process and killed Arnold. Muldoon is ambushed by them. Grant goes to look for Sattler, leaving Tim and Lex to barely escape several raptors who chase them into the kitchen by locking one in a freezer. The problem is solved when Lex uses Nedry's computer to restore power and call Hammond, who calls for help. They are cornered in the main entrance by the two remaining raptors, but the T-Rex appears and kills them both. Hammond and Malcolm arrive in a jeep and take the group to a helicopter, which takes them off the island. The screenplay by Michael Crichton and David Cope, based on Crichton's best-selling novel, is a straightforward adventure story and thriller with an ensemble cast and a few underlying subplots. The special effects by Industrial Light and Magic were supervised by Dennis Murrin, with Stan Winston providing animatronics, Phil Tippett as a dinosaur supervisor, and Michael Lantieri as the on-set effects supervisor. While go-motion effects were originally considered, they were dropped in favor of CGI. However, Tippett animated the CGI by moving physical puppets and scanning the movements into ILM's computers, which created remarkably believable models and movements. Some scenes seamlessly switch between CGI and practical effects. This, along with elaborate sets and location filmmaking, make this one of the best-looking Hollywood blockbusters of all time. Like most Spielberg movies, the film's tone is light, but it has plenty of gravity given the protagonist's plight and the themes being explored. While the level of cloning technology depicted is somewhat fantastical, it's close to hard science fiction. The film's story isn't experimental since dinosaurs and Crichton's novel were popular, but such sophisticated special effects had never been attempted to this degree before. They were expensive and largely untested. However, Spielberg was a huge draw, which helped mitigate any risk. The film reinforces the style of such films as 1925's The Lost World, with characters attempting to escape a hidden location populated by dinosaurs, as well as with its ambitious and experimental special effects. Could even be argued that it reinforced the style of Destroy All Monsters with the concept of prehistoric creatures being corralled on an island zoo. Jurassic Park was made to cash in on the popularity of Crichton's novel and dinosaurs. To that end, it appealed to and entertained a general movie-going audience and was accessible to kids. When it was released June 11, 1993, it went on to gross just over $1 billion against a $63 million budget, becoming the highest-grossing film of all time up to then, replacing Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It was a critical darling and won multiple awards, including several technical Oscars. It spawned a franchise, including 5 film sequels, and remains beloved by fans and film buffs. It inspired a golden age of paleontology, prompting a new generation to pursue it as a career. Not only that, it changed the face of blockbusters going forward. Multiple forces are at play in this film. Grant's disdain for children is strained by having to protect Hammond's grandkids. The same is true of his fear of commitment when it clashes with his budding attraction to Sattler and competition from Malcolm. Civilization conflicts with nature by harboring large and dangerous animals in a glorified zoo. Gennaro represents corporatism, which runs up against Hammond's childlike idealism. Said idealism is tested by the dire reality of a crumbling park. It also blinds Hammond to Nedry's demands, which creates cynicism and greed. Most prominently, there's the classic conflict of humanity using science to tamper with the natural order, which leads to disaster. Several themes are present in this blockbuster. Grant grows to care for the children, which venerates family. Characters like Sattler use science to help the dinosaurs, showing that humans are to care for nature. Nedry's greed leads to his undignified death. Characters are in constant awe of the amazing creatures in the park. Hammond slowly comes to grips with his misguided pursuits. Tim and Lex show that adults shouldn't underestimate the cleverness of children. In the end, it's decided that it would be best for mankind to leave the dinosaurs, and by extension, nature, alone so as not to disrupt the natural order. Now it's time to cap off Ameri-kaiju with a discussion of one of the most important creature features ever made. I'm going to be honest with you, Bex.
I have no idea where to start with this because it's Jurassic Park. Everything that can be said about this movie has been said.
Well, let's begin at the begin. Isn't that a song somewhere? Isn't that a song somewhere? I think it's a Gershwin song. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, that's as good a place as any.
So this movie came out in 1993. And where were you in 1993?
Are you talking to me or to the kaiju lovers?
Well, to both, but in 1993, I was in high school, and at the time, Jurassic Park changed my life.
Really? How did it change your life? I need to hear this story.
Well, like I said, I was always a dinosaur fan, so I had old dinosaur books and toys, and they were always the dragging the tail, lumbering dinosaurs, right?
Oh my gosh. I hear things about that now.
Yeah. So when the movie came out, of course I got to see it. And the trailers at that time, remember, we don't have internet as it is today. We don't have phones and stuff like that where you can pick apart and preview and all this stuff where people do reviews of previews now.
And they have trailers for the trailer?
Yeah, exactly. It's a 2-minute long trailer and it'll be a 15-minute long YouTube video dissecting it. And so there's you could only watch the trailer when they aired it on TV. And so you had to be lucky enough to be watching TV when they aired the trailer. Mm-hmm. So you probably only saw the trailer. I only saw the trailer just a couple times. And when I went to go see the movie, it was very different than my expectations from when I saw the trailer.
Really?
Yes, because that very first scene when the T-Rex chomps the blood-sucking lawyer was just like, it was mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. And you had parents and families and all these little kids come in to see a dinosaur movie, and then the lawyer gets eaten and viciously eaten. I mean, vicious. And the kids start crying because it's already an intense scene. So you have kids crying. You got parents taking their kids out of the theater. And then to see the dinosaurs moving fast, warm-blooded creatures instead of the cold, lumbering. They can't move their weight unless they're in water or they're dragging their tail. They're slow. To see them moving so fast and life just coming alive, it was like a spiritual moment. I have to say, it was a spiritual moment.
I went to church this week, but the biggest spiritual moment I had was Jurassic Park.
Yes, and if anything, it like fed my obsession with dinosaurs, and I watched the movie several times in the theater. And then, of course, you have to wait like an entire year before they would put it out on VHS.
Yeah, people, that used to happen.
Oh, my goodness.
It used to take, about, I think, minimum a year to get a home media release. Yep. Okay, none of this simultaneous release or 2 months later or anything like that. No. It's ridiculous now.
And again, there's no internet for you to even go and watch clips. Like, there was no way to satisfy your hunger for it. You just had to wait.
Or you just go read the novel.
You was like waiting for Chris, which I did. I did go read the novel. But yeah. So that was my experience, my first experience with Jurassic Park.
Wow, that's crazy. But it just, I don't know how much people realize how huge an event this was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the novel was already popular from what I was reading. The novel came out, was published in 1990, bestseller. And then you find out that Spielberg's going to make it into a movie? I mean, Spielberg. So this is the first Spielberg movie that we've talked about on the show.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how many more would qualify to be on the show, but
well, that's cool. Okay.
Other than like The Lost World, Jurassic Park, the first sequel, because he directed that one.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more we'd be able to talk about.
It's funny because I came late to reading books in my growing up. So I watched the movie.
In your John Hughes movie you grew up in, because I've seen pictures of you in high school.
Oh man,
yeah, you look like you look straight out of a John Hughes movie.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a topic for another day. So I came late to reading books. Like I didn't really start reading books till I was probably 13 or 14. So when I watched the movie, my mom actually was the one who told me, well, it's based off of a book. Because I for whatever reason, when the credits roll, I didn't see that part of the credits. So my mom was the one who told me.
Michael Crichton is upset with you.
I was probably like, I don't know, in tears, crying over how wonderful the movie was. So when she told me there was a book, of course, well, now I have to read it. And then that was another epiphany. Because now there's books out there that people write about dinosaurs. So I like fiction, like stories. So then that sent me on a hunt for anything. If it had a dinosaur, if it was about a dinosaur, if it had a claw on the book cover, I didn't care who wrote it. I didn't care what it was about. As long as it was a story about dinosaurs, I was reading it. And boy, did I read some crappy novels. Because they were, of course, all trying to ride the Michael Crichton train and hype and all that.
Right.
So
right. I remember coming across one sitting on a book rack, but I wasn't able to buy it. I don't. Maybe you read this one. It's called Raptor Red. I don't remember the author's
did read
name.
that one. Yes.
Yeah.
I read
Is it any good?
So it's basically, if you've ever read animal books where the animals are the characters, and so you're kind of reading it from their point of view. That's basically what it is.
That's what I'd say. That was the selling point. That's what made it interesting. It was like, someone wrote an entire novel where the protagonist is a dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I love those books because I think it's what's his name? Lippincott? I can't remember his first name. But I have
Jet, tell Jimmy to look that up.
Yeah, I have several novels of like Desert Dog and the Wahoo Bobcat and the Phantom Deer. There's like a specific author that writes all sorts of books from the animal's point of view. And I've got tons of those because I love that stuff.
Right.
So Raptor Red was right up my alley. I was like, I'm reading that.
Right. There were also a bunch of knockoff movies that came around for a while after that.
Yeah.
Most notably stuff like Carnosaur from Roger Corman. Was it Roger? Wait, was that? Yeah, that was Corman. I think that was Corman. It was either Corman or dang it, what was the name of that studio? Did like all the Puppet Master movies? Shoot. Keep talking.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really watch a lot of those. Again, limited on my media consumption because, well, you don't have internet to look up all this stuff, you know? So if I happened to cross something, I would mostly in books. But yeah.
Full Moon. That's what it was. It was Full Moon Pictures. That's what I was trying to remember if Carnosaur was made by them. I don't think it was. I think that was Roger Corman. But,
well, now you're going to send me on a quest. Thanks a lot.
You don't want to. I've seen clips.
I watched the Velocipaster.
Oh God!
Worse than that.
Oh Godzilla! I'm scared someone's going to sponsor that on MIFV Max. God,
it's a thing. It's a thing.
Oh no! Oh no!
So
I listened to our friends on the Bottom Shelf talk about it, and I thought, you know what? I don't need to see it. And then I was visiting some friends back in the States, and they're like, let's watch this. Like, oh, good Lord. I can't get out of this, can I?
I really think you should because
I already have.
It knows what it is, and it owns it. So
I'll give it that. But I was still like, what even is this? But I guess, that is a weird kind of descendant of this. Yeah. But it also made an impact in the kaiju sphere. Because Roland Emmerich ripped it off in 1998 and slapped the Godzilla name on it.
Really?
Oh, have you not seen Godzilla 98?
Oh, yes, I have. That's the one with Matthew Broderick. That's right. It's been a very long time. Let's just say I've only ever saw that once, and that was enough.
That was probably enough. Yeah, I'm friends with Nick Totopoulos, and he's told me on several occasions, like, I'm so sick of hearing people ask me about Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
He was not happy with Matthew Broderick's portrayal of him.
No.
But those baby Zillas are basically raptors.
That's right. That's right.
Like raptors. But yeah, there's so much. Like I said, there's so much to get into. I didn't realize fully, I should say, when I started researching this movie, just the amount of talent that went into this.
Oh, yeah.
Is just astonishing.
So when you first watched, tell us your first viewing.
I didn't see it in the theater, unfortunately. I didn't see it until, I don't know, I think it was either on TV or on video at some point. So unfortunately, I kind of missed out on that initial hype until a little bit later.
Have you watched? So you have watched it in the theater though, like gone to like a second viewing or something?
Unfortunately, I have missed out on those re-releases. That's why I'm hoping that there's a 30th anniversary.
Oh my goodness!
I know, kaiju lovers. You're like, turn in your nerd card right now. Like,
wow.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
Mom and Dad were a little hesitant. My parents were like the ones you were talking about. They were a little hesitant to let me see it because they're like, PG-13, dinosaurs eating people.
Yeah, so you heard it here first, folks. If there's a 30th anniversary viewing, Nate is obligated to go see it.
I am obligated to go see it. Contractually obligated.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure the board or Mr. Winter or whoever is writing that little clause into my new contract.
That's right.
Now.
That's right.
You have to go see Jurassic Park. I don't care if it's the competition. You have to go see Jurassic Park. Well, obviously, we talked. The entertaining info dump talked about some of this, but obviously, the man himself, Major Spielberg. No, nope, not Major Spielberg. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a dumb joke that only the hardcore Godzilla fans are gonna get. But no, Steven Spielberg directed this. Now, when I looked at some of the special features on the Blu-ray, there's a lot of good information in that. He does make several kaiju connections when talking about it. He actually said that, no surprise, the original King Kong was an influence.
Exactly.
You want to hear more about that, go back to episode 2 of the Film Vault.
Yeah. Which is why when they're going into the park and the big gates, the iconic gates open, and Ian Malcolm says, "Well, they got in there, King Kong."
Yep.
That was that line specifically for that reason.
Right, and because that references back to the giant gates that keep King Kong and the dinosaurs of Skull Island out. So it was very appropriate. He also he talked about growing up watching kaiju films like Godzilla. And when he was telling his sound designers to do the dinosaur roars, he said, don't do Godzilla and Rodan, because he wanted something new with that. So he was making he was making kaiju connections. And there's a moment in the making of documentary where Fay Wray visited the set.
Nice.
The original Kong Queen, the Scream Queen herself, she was on set, visited the set, and Steven Spielberg had a lovely interaction with her, at least in this documentary. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
So yes, there are kaiju connections, and it's been rippling throughout just all of cinema. It's not unlike King Kong in that regard. This was like a moment in the history of cinema, and nothing's been quite the same ever since. I mean, even some of the Japanese Godzilla films have moments where they reference back to it. If you watch Godzilla 2000, there's some parts that I'm like, yeah, that goes back to Jurassic Park.
Nice.
Because there's a scene where Godzilla gets right up in the face of a handful of characters who are in a Jeep.
Oh, okay.
And then he screams at them and shatters the windshield,
Nice.
Stuff like that. Then he tries to swat them.
Nice. Nice.
So it's everywhere. It's impossible to escape this movie at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's just so many talented people. So you had Steven Spielberg, the cast. Let's talk about the cast for a second. My
goodness.
gosh.
Yeah.
So you've got just so many. You got Sam Neill as Dr. Grant. You've got, I'm trying to remember the woman who played Dr. Sattler. Her name is escaping me right
Laura
now.
Dern.
Laura Dern, that's right. And then obviously Ian Malcolm, who might be the breakout character in this movie. If it's not one of the dinosaurs, I think it's him.
Yeah.
Played by Jeff Goldblum with his iconic Uz.
Yeah.
Normally in a script, when you write a script, you make it as streamlined as possible. You don't have time buying words.
Right.
I don't think Ian Malcolm's Uz were scripted. I think that was a choice made by Jeff Goldblum because I think that's one of his shticks.
100%. I think that is exactly the case for that. And I think it's genius.
Because he's supposed to be, I think he was originally written to be this kind of awkward, nerdy guy, but he's also really charming and charismatic and tries to steal Dr. Grant's girl in the nerdiest way possible. I'm like, who in the heck could use dripping water to flirt with a woman? I mean, it's like, does that work? Does that work? Bex, tell me, does that work?
I'll let you know if it ever happens. So.
Okay. Tell Tim he needs to try it sometime.
Yeah, right.
Tim is the husband, by the way.
Right. No, Tim's idea of flirting was to come in and, he has a basketball in his hand, and because he was playing basketball, and comes in from the outside with a basketball in his hand. He says, "Hey, Becky." So I turn around, catch, boom, basketball right in my face.
Tim!
Yep. That happens. And I fell in love.
Because he knocked you silly?
No, but I don't let him live it down, that's for sure.
As you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Especially if he drew blood on you, like if he hit you right in the
nose.
nose.
Thankfully not that bad, but yeah, it was very surprising to be hit in the face with a basketball. So yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. Basketball to the face.
That's how it's done. All right, so back to the cast.
So Jeff Goldblum with his iconic Uz. I'm trying to think. I think that's his name is escaping me right now, but the guy who played Nedry was actually a rising star at the time because he was on Seinfeld.
Yep.
He was on Seinfeld.
It's funny because when you talk about him, it's always Newman.
Newman.
Even though Nedry is, his character in Jurassic Park.
Well, the thing is Newman and Nedry are practically the same character.
I know. Yeah.
Practically the same character. If you've seen Seinfeld, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much the same character.
Yeah, so let me see. Where did they put him?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, Samuel L. Jackson before he got famous. Still being a Samuel L. Jackson as you can get.
Oh, it's so great.
Wayne Knight, that's who it was.
Dennis
Nedry, Wayne Knight. And funny enough, did you know, just to further justify covering this movie, because of that infamous question, did you know he brought his famous line from this movie back in a kaiju film?
No.
Yeah, his famous line, "Hold on to your butts."
Oh, is it the snakes in the plane or whatever?
No, snakes on a plane.
In a plane, on a plane, whatever.
Snakes on a plane.
It's the same, right?
No. No, it wasn't in there, and I don't think that qualifies as kaiju.
Oh, okay.
No, Kong Skull Island, he says it.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yep. Kong Skull Island, right before, it's toward the beginning of the movie, right when the science team and the soldiers who are escorting them are in the helicopters and they take off from the ship and they're about to try to plow through the never-ending storm surrounding Skull Island, and he says, "Hold on to your butts."
Wow, that's funny.
Yep,
that's great.
It was his idea to bring it back. So, so there you go. Yeah, so just so many people. It's funny when I talked with you initially about having you on for this, because I know you love Jurassic Park. I was like, you see, we're breaking you out of the kind of like this little rut, this kind of pigeonhole that I had for you about what I bring you on to talk about, because of like, it's not about pretty monsters and girls, but it is about kids. Kids is the other through line. It's like, well, I didn't get away from that.
You can't have a good adventure without kids.
Without the children.
Without the children.
But I have to say, I will make this argument. Lex and her, why are their names escaping me?
Lex and Tim.
Lex and Tim. Lex and Tim. Yes, I know. It rhymes with Jimmy. Shut up. Just because I thought they said Jimmy for a hot second. Shut up. Anyway. But yeah, they are not Kennys. I stand by that. I stand by that. I know they're kids in a monster movie, but they're not annoying. And these actors are actually good.
Yeah. Well, the whole cast is like perfect. And rewatching it with a little bit more, of course I've got the nostalgia, of course I've got the love, but trying to be critical of the actors and the lines and the, trying to kind of look more at that stuff instead of just being enveloped in the movie. And it's really solid. I mean, the way the characters are written, the lines that they're given, the delivery of the lines.
Oh, there's so many good lines in this.
It's great.
Yeah, we'll talk about the lines here in a second, but we should also mention Richard Attenborough.
Yes.
As John Hammond.
Yes.
His character is we'll talk a little bit about the differences between this and the novel, but John Hammond, I think, is where it is most drastically different, because this John Hammond is not the John Hammond of the novel. Here, it's the very Spielbergian, lovable grandfather.
Sure.
Which is not John Hammond. John Hammond's the bad guy in the novel. So that's really different. Very, very different. But yeah, we were talking about, I'm just going to start flipping through my notes here just to bring up some of the better lines. Some of them, some of them are not quote unquote iconic lines, but they're just really, watching this, I'm just like, man, they used to write scripts like this all the time. Didn't matter what genre it was. It was just the rule for old-timey screenwriters, it seemed like, was just make it witty. Doesn't matter what it is, just make it witty. Okay. So that's why you watch a lot of old, even like B movies from the 50s. They still just make the scripts witty. Maybe the wit doesn't always work in the B movies, but they at least try. But, so you have stuff like a raptor gets called a 6-foot turkey. Now, that kid at the beginning was probably a Kenny, because he was kind of annoying.
Right.
But he was supposed to be, he is the unbeliever in our midst. Expel the unbeliever.
Yep.
And then he gets a little lecture. It's like, if you ran into a raptor, you want to know what would happen?
He gets schooled.
He's schooled. Yeah, and which is a brilliant scene, because it's not only a great moment of characterization for Dr. Grant, but it also helps to build the anticipation for when we see raptors later. So then you're like, crap.
It's a perfect setup.
We know what those things can do. Now, we don't actually see them do it, thankfully, because this is a PG-13 movie. But it is kind of horrifying. I have actually heard that a raptor slash from that claw on their foot is actually a wider radius than a T-Rex bite. And I remember thinking back into the deep recesses of my childhood memory, seeing a documentary, probably in connection to this movie, about that, saying like, a raptor slash is worse than a T-Rex bite. And I think this documentary also tried to argue that raptors can take a T-Rex because they can just run up to it. They don't get caught, obviously. But if they can get up on the thing, close enough to it, they could slash at its stomach and just basically disembowel it, even if it is bigger.
It.
Yeah. It's nasty. So yeah, like I said, brilliant moment. The screenplay for this is just impeccable, but it helped that Crichton actually helped work on this, and he actually does have experience not only as a novelist, but also as a screenwriter.
Yes.
In fact, he directed in the 70s the original Westworld, which he wrote as a screenplay, not as a novel, and then directed. So
yeah.
He's got some chops there. So yeah, 6 Foot Turkey. I'm just looking through some of the other ones. We have a T-Rex. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
To Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do move in herds.
Today. For today, I guarantee it. When he says, we're saving that.
Malcolm has got all the best lines, which I think has to have been a little bit of input from Jeff Goldblum, because he changed the character a little bit from the script. But when I love the line where he says, it's like, are the dinosaurs going to reproduce? Oh, don't worry. They're all female. Well, how do you know that? Do you go around and pull up the dinosaur skirts?
Lift up the skirts? So if you get a chance to watch it again, the little nuanced looks that Grant gives Malcolm when he says his lines, like if they're in the same shot together and Malcolm is talking, you got to watch Grant's facial expressions. It is genius. It is absolutely genius, because they show, you get these little hints and characterizations that I don't know if it's something that I'm just not paying attention to in modern film, or if it's just so well done in this movie that, I don't know, maybe I'm just noticing it for the first time.
Maybe. Although Spielberg did say when he was casting for this movie that he didn't want to get a bunch of movie stars, but he wanted to get actors who, a specific kind of actor, though. Let me look that up here really quick, because he mentioned that in an interview when they were casting for this. But I will say this while we're talking about that, we then get to one of the first truly iconic lines after that, just from looking over my notes, which is, life finds a way.
Finds a way. Yes.
That has to be the line from this. I remember when I took a class on screenwriting, and they said that when you're writing a screenplay, you really want to make sure you have a line in it that's like the line that people are going to remember as best as you can. And the thing is, this movie, I think, has several.
Yeah, but I think you're right about that being the crux of the entire plot. Which life finds a way.
It's one of the thematic through lines throughout this. Because I mean, let's be honest. This is very much a blockbuster.
Yeah.
It is very much a blockbuster. I mean, Spielberg practically invented blockbusters as we know them with Jaws. But this still is a movie that wants to have some thematic teeth, because it is still, a really interesting science fiction story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking about, it's, again, from the same scene, another iconic line from Malcolm, because all the good ones come from Malcolm, where he says, your scientists were so preoccupied with figuring out how they didn't stop and think if they should.
Right.
Because he was completely against doing this. It's like, you're playing God. What are you doing? These things were wiped out. Why are you trying to bring them back? We weren't meant to do this, that sort of a thing. So, like I said, it's got some weight to it, and people do spend a few scenes talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding that line, but, there's a specific kind of actor that he was really hoping to cast in this. I'm just trying to see how he described it. I'm not finding it right now, but he didn't want to have a bunch of movie stars, quote-unquote movie stars in it, which I think was a very wise move. And so, let me see. I'm going to keep looking for some more of those lines. Oh, they're all from seriously, they're all from Malcolm. I'm just looking at all the ones I wrote down. I was like, oh yeah, that's an iconic line. I have hold on to your butts, which we already talked about. This exchange, I remember as a kid hearing that, I'm like, which is God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs.
Yep.
And then Sattler spoke up after.
And then the rest of the line, which I will gladly finish for you.
Oh, go for it.
So where we left?
Because then Dr.
Man
Sattler
creates
picked
dinosaurs.
up.
There we go. Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth.
And then they all look at her kind of funny. I'm like,
great.
We got a feminist in the room here. Or in the Jeep. It was in the Jeep at the time.
In the Jeep, yeah.
Again, Malcolm, that is one big pile of thank you for the censorship. Jet. That has been meme gold ever since.
Right.
Let me see what else we got in here. So like everyone must go faster. Well, it's just he only says it once, but everyone repeats it. When Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. Talking about how because Hammond was saying it's like Disneyland didn't work on day one.
Yeah, every major theme park has its hiccups or something like that.
Yeah. Now around here on Monster Island, we have to worry about not only eating but stepping on.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, we have an infinitely better safety track record. and then you have Muldoon when he gets caught by the raptor.
Clever girl. Yes, Muldoon. Muldoon and his calves.
Wait. I am apparently not as deep in the Jurassic Park fandom because I work on Monster Island.
I'm just saying.
He has iconic calves.
Calves. Yes. I'm just saying, guys. Guys, do not skip leg day. Everybody, you're always concerned about your biceps and your shoulders and your pecs. But I'm telling you, there's something about a nicely turned calf that is... I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm just saying there was a time where that was taken a bit more seriously. You know how the kind of stereotypical kind of like charming pose or like muscle pose for guys is like put their foot up on something, kind of prop it up a little bit. That's because they were showing off their calves, and that's why they would wear the stockings that would, they would be tight enough to show them off. Yeah, that was a thing.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. And then you had this. This isn't an what?
We can move on now.
Yeah, we can. And then this isn't an iconic line, but it's a great setup line to the next scene because someone asked them, was like, "Hey, have you contained the raptors?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," unless they figure out how to open doors.
Yep, unless they figure out how to open doors.
Which they did. Although, did they actually figure out how to open a door, or did they just kind of accidentally open the door and they're like, oh.
No, I think they figured it out.
I mean, I've seen videos of cats who do stuff like this.
I was just going to say, there's cats and there's dogs. The animals are pretty smart.
Well, I mean, they spend the whole time hyping the raptors because we don't see the raptors for a while.
Yes.
It's like over an hour in, and they were hyping up how smart and vicious they were the whole time.
Yep. And that's another thing that is so well done in this movie is you don't really get to see the monster, the dinosaurs are limited in what you actually see. And so it makes it more intense and scary that the dinosaurs are eating people and loose and they're running from them and they don't know where they're at. And then they turn around and there's one. And So
takes about 20 minutes before you actually see a dinosaur. Now you see a close up of a raptor eye in the first scene.
Right.
But then the first time you actually see the dinosaurs, it's not a moment of horror. It's a moment of wonder.
It's funny because when I'm going in to rewatch it again, I actually forgot about that opening scene. That's the very first scene is them loading the raptor and basically somebody dies, which is the setup for the whole movie. Like we got to get the lawyer, we got to get the investors okay with this, so But I forgot that is the first scene because it's so well done. And by the time you actually get to the park and you're following the characters, it's like that scene is completely forgotten. Mm-hmm. You completely forget that the dinosaurs are vicious and kill people, and you're enamored, just like they are, with the brachiosaur and the triceratops.
Right. Because I feel like that's an iconic scene because, I mean, for a lot of reasons, no one had seen special effects like that. No one had seen dinosaurs realized like that. And it's the fact that these are the dinosaurs. I mean, like, these were animals that actually existed, but they've taken on, even Spielberg even talked about this in some of the special features, like they feel mythic. Yeah. Even though they were actually real, they feel mythic. Yeah. And there was a mythic pull to them he talked about, but it's actually real. So that's how he treated it in that first scene. And the soundtrack, definitely, John Williams, that's another one. Another big name in this one is John Williams doing the score on this. Yep. And Spielberg actually said this was the only time, I think up to this point at least, that he said that he worked with John Williams and he wasn't present to actually see John record the music. Because he had to go do Schindler's List. So he's doing... you're talking about that. He's filming Schindler's List and doing post-production on Jurassic Park at the same time.
That's right.
Through teleconference. Think about that. He said it was he said it was absolutely insane, one of the most intense times in his life. He said it was hard to switch gears because Schindler's List and Jurassic Park are very different movies.
Very different. Yeah.
Very, very different movies. I think he said he poured... How did he put it? I think we find the line for that one too in my notes. He made an interesting comparison with that one. What is it? He said he used up every ounce of intuition making Schindler's List and every ounce of craft making Jurassic Park. So John Williams did the music in this, and like I said, that first scene is just so perfect. It really is just because it embodies all of those things. And I think, I think actually making the first encounter with the dinosaurs a moment of wonder as opposed to fear, I think was very smart on the filmmaker's part. Oh yeah. Because I think that's how it should be. You know, honestly, we don't, because Spielberg said I think this ends up being a little dubious when you actually watch the movie, but you know, he said that he approached this, as he said, Crichton did in his novel, with let's not present the dinosaurs as monsters. They're animals going about their business. And I'm like, yeah, but they're probably a little more aggressive than animals normally would be. So you're still taking some creative license there. Because I don't know how much the T-Rex is going to want to murder everyone else after he just ate a lawyer. Sorry, Martin. Sorry, Raymond. Let's hope that you don't end up like the lawyer in this movie, Raymond. Okay.
Yes.
I'd hate to see.
Don't
that
abandon the children.
Don't abandon the children. So I'm like,
He left us.
I was like, why would he go back? Why would the T-Rex go back? It's like, I want to eat everyone. I'm like, I think you had a decent enough a meal that you're going to be fine for a while. But I don't know. But that's a typical movie thing, you know, when you've got a monstrous animal. It's just like after the animal kills one of you, it's not going to be as interested anymore. Okay.
Right.
I don't know. But so again, gotta work the movie magic a little bit there, but you know, it's okay.
But to your point, I think when you quoted him, he used every ounce of craft. The movie is just well crafted, from the characterization, the music, how the plot progresses. It's so rewatchable.
It really is.
And you can revisit it multiple times. I don't know how many times I've watched it. It's countless at this point.
I'm sure it is. I mean, it's just everything just gels in this way. The effects.
Yeah.
We do need to talk about the effects for at least a little bit. I mean, like, you could do a whole podcast on how important this was as a technical achievement.
Yeah.
This was a quantum leap forward for special effects. Like, no one had done CGI like this. And honestly, when I saw the behind-the-scenes stuff about how they did it with Phil Tippett, who was known for doing stop motion, and they were going to do everything stop motion for a while, but then there was a guy from, I need to look his name up, but there was a guy from ILM who went there. It's like, hey, let me show you how we did this digitally. And he was just so enamored, Spielberg was just so enamored with the CGI that he completely changed everything, and he had to he said it was difficult to call up Phil Tippett and tell his teams, like, we're not going to be we're not doing stop motion, guys. We want to keep you on the movie to help out, but we're not doing it. And Phil Tippett, he actually said Phil Tippett looked at him and was like, wow, now I feel extinct.
Well, and to their credit, the CGI
Dennis
graphics,
Muren, that's what it was, Dennis Muren.
Okay, so to their credit, the CGI graphics still hold up today.
They do. Most of them, like 90+% of them still hold up.
It's amazing.
You can't say that about most 90s CGI.
What's the less than 10%? What scene are you talking about?
I mean, there are a few points. I think it's just because I'm a modern movie watcher and I've gotten so used to the CGI that I can kind of pick up on it a little bit.
Okay.
I can tell a little bit more. It's still better than a lot of things even now, but I can still kind of detect it a little bit because CGI has been refined so much in the last 30 years. But it hasn't gotten... Honestly, it hasn't gotten that much better. But one of the things that that I think helped this one that was so fascinating, I didn't know about this, is this really was a blending of the old way and the new way of doing things. Because they had all these stop motion guys with them, and they didn't want to waste their talents, so they figured out how to create stop motion armatures that had devices on them that would register all of the movements in the computer.
Wow.
So what you're seeing is basically stop motion, it is stop motion movement that they just put a digital skin on top of.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so brilliant. And I'm like, why don't we do more stuff like this?
Yeah.
This would be amazing. This would fix a lot of problems with CGI.
Yeah.
Unless you have an exceptionally good digital animator, which they exist. I've watched Pixar movies. They exist, but then there are some that are just wonky. But so I mean, it's like how motion capture is now. I've made the argument for a long time. Motion capture is just modern suitmation. They're just not wearing rubber suits. They're wearing. I mean, it looks like, I don't know, spandex with funny light bulbs on it. It's still the same thing, basically. So the effects in this are brilliant.
We got to talk about the practical effects.
Oh, the practical effects, yes.
Oh.
Because they had the life-size T-Rex that they would switch between, and some of them was just different body parts, like the foot when it came down and squished the mud. When it's sticking its head into the Jeep to try to get the children, because if you really want to make a harrowing scene, threaten children. I'm like, man, I forgot how harrowing it was to watch these dinosaurs go after the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were literally saved by a half-inch of plexiglass.
Yeah.
Because the T-Rex is like, I can't get through the plexiglass. I can see you. Why can't I eat you?
It's so good. The T-Rex, the puppetry, and the mechanics of the... It's one of my favorite shots, I guess, is the raptor is chasing them. They're in the control room. Ellie, boot up the doors. Boot up the locks or whatever. And the raptor breaks through... And they get up into the ceiling, and then there's this one shot of the raptor kind of looking up and following the noise of them crawling through the ceiling. And there's the display kind of showing up on its skin of, I guess, code.
Yes.
Which
I feel like is weirdly symbolic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's symbolic. But there's just seeing that, and the way it moved and looked and followed them, it was just so masterfully done that you were convinced that thing was real and it was going to go after those people and trying to kill them. Right. So good. So good.
Because those raptors are very determined.
Yeah.
They're some very determined raptors. Oh, and velociraptors explode exploded in popularity after this.
Oh, for sure.
They became as iconic as a T-Rex. The T-Rex was already iconic, and then after this, the Raptors were just as iconic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I remember as a kid watching Beast Wars and Dinobots. Mm-hmm. He was a raptor.
Dinobots? Yep.
No, not the Dinobots. There's a character in Beast Wars named Dinobot, and he's a raptor.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched Beast Wars.
You should. It's
I was thinking
show.
Dino, like actual Transformers and the Dinobots.
The Beast Wars is actual Transformers. Don't get me started.
Well, no, I mean I didn't watch Beast Wars. I watched Transformers.
You watched Transformers. Just me, Grimlock.
Yes,
King.
Grimlock. There you go. Cut me a break, man.
Me, Grimlock no Yoshi. Me, Grimlock King. That was a
Beast Wars came out when I was in college. I wasn't able to watch it, okay?
It's on Tubi now. You have no excuse.
I was in a Christian college. I couldn't watch movies and shows. Fun stuff.
I had to sneak off campus to watch anime.
Although, I got a fun story. All right. So I did have a T-Rex Jurassic Park poster in my dorm room, and I attended a very small, very conservative Christian college. And I mean very conservative. Okay, that is not an exaggeration.
Did they yell at you for having socks so short that you could see your ankles?
That is not an exaggeration.
What? I was joking.
So
even Jed is freaking out a little bit.
Let's just say I got in trouble for having watching Sailor Moon, which I had recorded. Okay, so I'll give you an idea of how very conservative I'm using that literally. So I had Sailor Moon recorded on VHS tapes, home movies, the home videos, and you had to have approval for any sort of media whether it's music, books, or movies and shows, right? So I said, hey, I want to watch this with my roommate. Is it okay? And no, it was not okay. I had to send it back home because it was mysticism and astrology and all that, right? So
did they not realize the satanic panic was over?
Yeah, and of course the girls had very short skirts. Uniforms. Yeah, short skirts. Another instance was we weren't allowed to have soundtracks. Like that was a rule. We couldn't have movie soundtracks or anything like that. And that was I was pretty nerdy. That was my choice of music, was to have movie soundtracks and listen to them. Okay. I had the Jurassic Park soundtrack on CD. I couldn't have it in college. I had the Wizard of Oz soundtrack, and I had bought it while I was at college because I liked the Wizard of Oz, and Wizard of Oz was an approved movie. So I was like, oh, yeah, Wizard of Oz was an approved movie that we could watch. So I bought the soundtrack thinking that I could have it and listen to it in my dorm room on my own personal time. And so, of course, I'm like, well, I have to get it approved because I bought it. So I'm thinking, no problem. Show them the soundtrack of Wizard of Oz, which is an approved movie. And I got in trouble for it and had to send it back home. So we're talking very conservative. All right.
So you had a Jurassic Park T-Rex poster.
I had it behind the door. They never saw it.
Wow.
Yes. So I had it behind the door. They never saw it. Thankfully, I had a cool roommate who was totally fine with it. But my second year, The Lost World came out. The second Jurassic Park movie.
97. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to see this movie. I have to. And in one of the rules at the college that I went to was you could not go to the movie theater.
What?
Yep. I broke the rule, and I was a good girl. I was a super good girl. I broke the rule with my then future sister-in-law, and we lied about where we were going.
Wow.
Went and watched The Lost World in the theater. Probably could have kicked out. I don't know about I don't know if they would have kicked me out, but there would have been a very stern talking and Miss Becky, you know that movies are really sinful and blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Jet, I know enough to know that you just threatened to send this audio to her school.
Ha!
You
Nice
will
try.
not get her degree revoked.
Nice try.
I will not allow it. I don't care if you try to punch me
Hey, I
in the
never said what
face.
school it was. I never said what school it was.
Yeah. He'd probably find out. I mean, he is a robot. He can just directly plug himself into the internet, and he's just gonna
This was one of those instances where it was better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Oh, of course. Now, now Jed also sent me the release date for that movie because I'm like, wait a minute, because the original opened in June. I'm like, colleges are out by June usually, and I'm like, when did this one come out? How long did your school stay in session? Because this movie premiered Lost World premiered May 23rd.
I want to say it was. I know it was my second year, so it had to have been like September of that year.
Okay, so it was still playing. Okay.
Yes.
You just didn't go see it during the summer when they can't control your life.
No, yeah. I don't know why I didn't go see it in the summer, but I went and saw it when I was actually enrolled in college down in Louisiana with my then future sister-in-law.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
I know, right? I'm such a rebel.
You're such a rebel. I mean, you were otakuing even all the way back then when you probably shouldn't be allowed to.
Yes, yes. So they had trading cards for the movie trading cards. And I have they had series 1 and series 2, and I have most of them. I need to break them out and see if I can complete the set, because I'm pretty sure I'm missing some of the holographic cards. But yeah, I mean,
we know you have
I've got 'em
pretty
in a
good luck with
binder
holographic cards.
You know, I might have to. Oh, I just got an idea
Jurassic
for my
Park
YouTube channel.
unboxing.
I might have to find some cards, Jurassic Park cards. Ooh, okay.
Every time I go to, just to let you know, every time I go to the Monster Island gift shop and I see Pokemon cards on display, I'm like, I think of you. I'm like, I need to send her some. Our Pokemon
Jurassic
Kaiju.
Park.
Actually, yes, Pokemon are Kaiju.
Yeah,
there are some that would qualify.
that is true.
Including my boy Charizard.
That is true. Yep.
Yeah, I was a Charmander kid. But anyway, I forgot about this line. They're lethal at 8 months, and I do mean lethal.
I do mean
lethal. Yeah. So, man, just going over my notes. So much to talk about. Oh, I loved how the kids had funny nicknames for the different kinds of dinosaurs. It was Vegisaurus and
Vegisaurus, Lex,
and
Vegisaurus
and Metasaurus.
Metasaurus, yeah.
Yeah, because apparently Lex is a vegetarian. I'm like, how well did that pan out for you?
Yeah.
The vegetarian diet isn't nearly as respected as it used to be. Oh, and I do love the moment since we're talking about the kids, I do love the moment where the Brachiosaur sneezes on Lex.
Oh, that poor girl.
And then Tim,
Man.
because he's the annoying little brother.
I felt that so deep in my soul, because she's trying to brave petting it after a very traumatic event, and then
those kids are going to be in therapy for years.
Oh man, that poor girl.
Yeah, and then and then he says, "God bless you," which I'm like, "Oh, I get it, because it sneezed," and he's also saying, "Thank you for doing that to my sister." Trust me, I know all about sadistically relishing the misfortune of an annoying sibling.
Yeah. Poor Lex.
Yeah, I think she got over it. I do think she got over it. Oh, we didn't talk about another piece of meme gold in this. I mean, there's not a lot to say other than to acknowledge it, but shirtless Malcolm.
Oh, yes.
It is kind of a weird shot in the because I had to be told, it's like, yeah, that was in Jurassic Park. It was in Jurassic Park. It was in Jurassic Park.
Yep. But it happens so quickly. Like it's there and gone.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why your school wouldn't let you watch it, right? We can't let you see shirtless Jeff Goldblum.
I could watch My Fair Lady when I can't even think of his name, but he's cussing the whole time, saying the 4-letter word. But I could watch that. I could watch that one. Oh, and My Fair Lady, she was like a call girl and everything too. So I was like, okay.
Audrey Hepburn, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the cast. I'm like,
that's not My Fair Lady. Breakfast at Tiffany's. We could watch Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's the right one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say what?
Yeah, we could watch that.
I was gonna say
a lot of inconsistencies.
Yeah, was it Mickey Rooney? Is it Mickey Rooney the one who was doing all that? It was Audrey Hepburn again, but anyway, this is beyond the purview of this podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, and there's some great suspense in this. Lots of tension, lots of build up and payoff. Like everything everything that gets set up gets paid off. There's also a very Hitchcockian sequence in this because Alfred Hitchcock famously said that the way you create suspense is you let the audience know things that the characters don't. And in this case, it doesn't even involve the dinosaurs. It involves an electric fence.
Yep.
Because we know that Dr. Grant and the kids are trying to climb it, and the other Sattler and the other characters are trying to restore power to it, but the characters don't know that. We know that. So it's like all the characters don't know about what each other is doing. Yeah. But the audience knows, and we're like, oh no. And I'm still trying to figure out how that kid didn't die.
Well, I mean, he said, Dr. Grant said he's not breathing.
Yeah.
So I assume that he had to restart his heart through chest compression. So
yeah, CPR. Yeah, CPR.
1, 2, 3. Like, why? Why did you say tree? I get it, you have an accent, but why couldn't you say 3? I don't know.
Oh, I think Jet said something about seeing those kids made him a little nostalgic for little Roxanne, the little brother of his creator, when he was first activated back in '73. He kind of misses Roxanne. He hangs out here on the island. Roxanne's all grown up now.
Aw. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, Rokuro is his name. But, yeah, everyone calls him Roxanne. You don't have to wear that red dress. Ha-ha! I stole that joke from MST3K.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, so much to talk about in this. I'm just looking over my notes. So many notes. Just so many great sequences. The chase with the T-Rex when it's going after the Jeep. And, because apparently T-Rexes can run about 30 miles an hour, according to this movie.
And apparently their vision is based on movement.
Which has been long debunked. Like, people are like, that was dumb.
But it worked for the movie.
It does, I mean, but you have to start asking things like, why doesn't the T-Rex smell them?
Yeah, well, I get it.
He has a nose.
Yes, I get it. There's a lot of little nitpicky things that we can do and pick apart. I get all that, though. But it worked for the movie, and it was easily dismissible, and it doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the movie.
I would agree with you. Well, what's funny is Spielberg learned as they were making the movie that the big star was the T-Rex, so he actually had the script changed to get the T-Rex at the end of the movie.
Oh, man. It's
because he's like, well, we got the big T-Rex sequence and people are loving the T-Rex. So we need to we got to get the T-Rex back in there, and then the T-Rex is kind of the hero, which is weird.
What a shot, man.
Yeah,
and
because
that's one of those instances where the CGI just shines through.
It does.
With the velociraptors and the T-Rex, and it's just a beautiful shot.
It is. Originally scripted, it was going to end with the raptors getting impaled by ribs on the dinosaur skeleton when they fell on it, which still kind of happens, just that the T-Rex throws one into it. But, they brought the T-Rex back, and it was funny. Well, one of the special effects guys asked him, well, how does the T-Rex get in here? Asked Spielberg that, and Spielberg described how it would come, how the T-Rex would get there as a filmmaker, because he's like, it comes from this side of the screen, from this frame, and the guy was like, he just told me how it would work as a filmmaker, and I'm wondering, where does it find the door to get
in? Yes, don't think about it too much. It just works.
It's just such a striking image. That was kind of Spielberg's philosophy, which is that if I can get the audience invested and get them to this point in the movie, and you get to the ending, it's like I can do whatever. I could basically do anything, and they'll go along with it. Which was what he's talked about that specifically with Jaws, because he's like, we're gonna blow the shark up. with an air tank. Okay.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't make sense, but
yeah. I completely agree with that. You're enthralled with the movie and the events, and it doesn't really matter if you're in the moment. It doesn't really matter how it happened, how you got there. Right. It was just magical.
It was magical. And I do like the irony of the T-Rex doing that and destroying the skeleton.
Yeah.
And then the banner.
The banner.
The banner that said, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, which, by the way, is a movie reference. There's a 1970 movie called When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth that was better known for having, shall we say, well-dressed cave girls. That was the selling point, despite it being called When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth.
So basically what you're saying is I would not have been allowed to watch that movie in college. No. Okay.
Definitely not. Definitely not. In fact, they probably would have been like, don't bring that movie within 5 miles of campus. I've never seen it, so I don't know, but I know I'll turn my kaiju nerd card in later. Shut up, Michael.
Oh, man. That's funny.
But so there is, like I said, there's great irony with that. And something I do want to mention, because we've been spending all this time talking about how good the characters are and things like that, but there are some character-specific, I guess you could say, subplots going on with this, one of which is something that you've actually written about in a project that we worked on, which is Dr. Grant with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
it's a beautiful character arc that we start from the very beginning with the first time we see Dr. Grant interacting with a child, and then at the very end with the rescue of the children. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because they're Hammond's grandkids, and he ends up basically keeping them safe for a good portion of the middle act of the movie after the T-Rex attack. Saves Tim from hanging in a tree in a Jeep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saves them from the T-Rex, basically. All that sort of stuff. So
it's amazing. It is great.
It's kind of immersion therapy a little bit.
Well, so I gave it some thought, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. So I'm watching it again for the first time in a few years. And so I kind of have that in mind, what I'm looking for in the characters. And Ellie Sattler is very much interested in kids. You know, she wants to have children. She's very forward thinking in that sense, where Grant is a digger. You know, he's stuck in the past and kids are smelly and, you know, so he's happy with just digging up old dinosaur bones. And they make it a point to kind of mention that when, you know, what are you going to do now? Well, I guess we're out of a job. Don't you mean extinct? You know, yeah. So it's like the end of basically the end of his life, since he can't dig up dinosaurs anymore. But as we see him kind of protecting the children and investing his life into the children, that's a very future forward thinking aspect of his character development that he comes to fruition when he in the helicopter, when he's got the children in his arms and they're there. He smiles at Ellie and Ellie smiles back, and it's a beautiful, well-written character arc.
Mm-hmm. This is the kind of insight that the kaiju lovers come to this show for. Well done.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, I'm glad you invited me on here because I love this movie.
I can tell. Like I said, there's a lot that I could go into. This is why I give all of my notes to Jimmy to do his follow-up blogs so that he can share all the things that I couldn't talk about. Because there's just not enough time.
There's not enough time.
Not enough time. But I do want to mention a few things since, you know, me being a writer and a lit nut and all that, having read the novels about a year and a half ago or so.
It's been a long time since I've read the novels. Yeah,
it's been a little while. And I did want to mention some of the key differences.
Sure,
There's pretty significant key differences here, despite the fact that Crichton.
I could tell you a few things that I remember from my memory, like Hammond's dies.
Hammond. Well, I'll get to that. There's some differences.
Yeah, Hammond dies by Compy.
Yeah,
so
he gets killed by the Compy, which I think it's meant to be ironic. His creation has killed him, basically.
Right.
You know, so it's dramatic irony. He's also in it for the money. And that he's the villain. He's basically
very different character.
He says he wants to make it available to everybody like he does in this movie, but he's in it for the money. He's ultimately in it for the money. He's not the lovable grandfather that we have in here. That was a very Spielbergian move there, like I said.
Yeah.
So
which I loved it. Yeah. I mean, I'm totally okay with that change.
Yeah, I understand. It's better for the movie, I think. Better for the movie. Don't get me started on whether or not I think the book or the movie is better. I would probably put that, I probably have to add that as another asterisk entry in my exceptions to the book is always better rule, because I can't really pick. Because the book is really good, but the movie's also brilliant. So don't make me pick. I can't really pick.
I agree.
Anyway, the opening is completely different in the novel. In the opening, it's a girl on the Costa Rican coast who gets killed by compies.
Yep.
As opposed to the
which they included
raptor.
They included that in the second movie.
Yeah,
that's actually the scene in the second movie.
The Lost World. And
it's funny, sorry, I'm just going to pause you there for a second. A lot of the things that are in the book that you've just mentioned, we could see it in the subsequent movies.
Right.
So the rich guy who's just in it for the money, the killing or destroying the creator. So there's a lot of those things that are in the book that are incorporated in the other movies, and they unfortunately don't work as well.
They don't. I'm going to say, just as kind of a broad thing, is like the rest of this franchise does not live up to this movie.
So I love them. I love all the movies, and I will rewatch them because I am a super fan. I do know, I recognize their glaring faults. I have probably a very different opinion about the third Jurassic World than a lot of people would expect. But we're not talking about Jurassic World Dominion. Yes, Dominion. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about Jurassic Park. And I might talk about Dominion in a YouTube video or something about it. So
you should.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason I was going to bring this up is that in the book, Dr. Grant doesn't have a problem with children. He gets along with children. Yep. And also, this is interesting. they flip-flopped Tim and Lex.
Yep.
In the novel, Tim is older and loves computers, and Lex is younger and likes baseball. So they switched them.
She's a little tom girl. Or tomboy.
She's a little tomboy and probably grew up to be in STEM, I'm guessing. No, STEM. Big difference. Malcolm dies in the novel.
Yeah.
He gets wounded and eventually dies, which Michael Crichton had to retcon when he wrote The Lost World, because he wrote a novel sequel first that became the movie sequel. He had to retcon that because people loved Malcolm in the movie.
Yeah. Surprisingly, he was a well-loved character.
Well, I mean, it's Jeff Goldblum. What are you expecting?
Oh, yeah. Well,
and Dr.
I didn't know who Jeff Goldblum was when I watched the movie.
Right. And not Jeff Goldblum. Dr. Wu, who dies in the novel, is also more of a villain because he's the mastermind of the genetic program. He also has a larger role in the novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about John Hammond already. Also, at the end of the novel, the park gets bombed by the Costa Rican military. So they can keep more dinosaurs from escaping. Because they already did. They didn't do that in the movie franchise until like movie 5. Well, no. Take it back. They technically did it in Lost World because they had a big Godzilla tribute in that one. But it was just the T-Rex. They didn't go full tilt with it until movie 5. So
yeah.
Right. And one of them gets taken to a lab, which is how Dr. Grant finds out about it. Because one of the escaped compies is what killed the little girl at the beginning. And something else I want to mention is Spielberg said, and you can definitely feel this watching the movie, that he tapped into his inner child while directing it.
Aww.
And he said that his first big word was Triceratops.
Yeah.
And he said I made this movie for dinosaur lovers. I was like, that comes through. He also said that the Triceratops is his favorite dinosaur.
Nice.
Still is.
Yes. That's awesome.
What's your favorite dinosaur? Well, no. No, you were showing me a little bit of your favorite dinosaur.
I was showing you, but I think that was before we started the broadcast.
Yes.
So
yes.
Because you
packed a few things on. You packed props.
Yes, I did.
You brought some funny little books along with you.
Yes. Yeah.
You're sporting your Jurassic Park hoodie.
Yep, my hoodie.
I mean, it's real.
Helmet.
I mean, I don't know how you're not sweating to death because it's really warm here in Ogasawara.
Well,
it rarely gets below like 65.
Yeah, but when I go inside and people have the AC going, and I get cold and whatever. I'm comfortable.
Jet, you have the air conditioning up too high. Oh, calm down, okay? I know you're a robot and you don't really feel any of this.
Yeah, he can't tell.
Yeah, he can't tell.
Yeah, so let's see. My favorite dinosaur, we'll start there. My favorite dinosaur, which is technically not considered a dinosaur, but it's the Dimetrodon.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's the Dimetrodon. And if you're a dinosaur lover, you probably know which one that is, but he's more closely related to mammals, but he's got the big sail on his back, and he's splayed out like a lizard, more like a lizard instead of a dinosaur with his legs directly under him. He doesn't have the legs directly under him. They're more splayed out like a lizard. But the Dimetrodon is my favorite dinosaur. I've always loved him. And when the Jurassic World Dominion came out and featured the Dimetrodon. Well, I shouldn't say featured. It more was like a small part.
A cameo.
A cameo. That's what I'm looking for. A cameo. I was cool to see him on screen. I wish you could have seen more of it, but they had the toy and I had to buy the toy.
I was going to say, for those who, what you can't see, Kaiju lovers, is that she brought the toy with her. And yes. I have to say, he reminds me of Doug from Godzilla vs. Kong. That's what everyone calls him.
Aww.
This big old lizard that you see for about 2 seconds.
Aww.
He's here on the island. He is here on the island. He keeps batting eyes at Lady Baragon. Last I heard. I'm afraid of what strange children are going to come out of that.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, so I brought him. And then the books that I brought are something my parents got me for Christmas the year that Jurassic Park came out, so 1993. And there's 8 of these books, and they all feature one of the dinosaurs, Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Gallimimus. It talks about kind of the dinosaurs as they were seen in the movie, but also gives like scientific facts about the dinosaurs. So I thought that was super cool. It even corrects some of the oddball pseudoscience that was portrayed in Jurassic Park.
Oh, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, which we'll get there. I don't know what these are like. I know they're probably collectible among super fans. I don't know if they're worth anything, but I absolutely love them. And I'm glad it was one of those things that I didn't realize at the time that it would be something that I would have with me for the rest of my life, but I'm super glad that I have them because I love them very much.
Right. As you should. As you should. I'm a collector of funny things like that. So
yeah.
So I'm just looking over my notes here a little bit just to talk about a few more quick things. So I should have mentioned that the guy who was in charge of the practical effects on this was Stan Winston. God rest his soul. The last movie he ever worked on was the original Iron Man. He's no longer with us. But he did a lot of iconic work, most notably on the first 2 Terminator films.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he did a lot of the practical effects on here. So definitely should be mentioned since we talked about the other people who did the special effects on here.
Yep.
Because it's, like I said, just so many talented people at the right time working on this. This was not filmed on Isla Nublar, although I did find out that it was inspired by an island, Cocos Island, which is off the coast of Costa Rica and touts itself to tourists as the real Jurassic Park. Ooh. Careful there, guys. Careful there. They filmed the movie on Kauai in Hawaii. And they survived a hurricane.
Oh, surprisingly.
A Category 5 hurricane hit while they were making the movie, and they had to hole up in a hotel. Said it helped them all bond because, this was a piece of nature they couldn't control. They're making a movie about not being able to control nature.
Right? Which also features a tropical storm, not a hurricane, but a tropical storm.
Tropical storm, yep. Although, despite that, I think I read that they finished filming about 12 days early.
Okay.
So I guess that means hopefully they came under budget. So nice job there. Nice job there. Also, I can't believe it. Who would have thought that a shaving cream can would become iconic?
I know.
Barbasol. I use Barbasol. I use and I don't know what it did for the sales of Barbasol. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a lot of money off of this, kind of like Reese's Pieces with E.T.
Right.
But they said that was just a complete whim. Like they're like, all it says in the script is that it's a shaving cream can. So one guy just went off to a store and saw the Barbasol can. Was like, well, that looks nice. So he just bought it and they used it. that was the extent of it.
Speaking of merchandising and props and all that,
I
would love to have a prop from the movie. Even in the scene where John Hammond and Ellie are eating ice cream at the table, and the camera kind of pans over like the stuffed animals and the water bottles and lunch boxes and all that. I would love to have one of those.
Looking at that scene now, and given the talk about commercialism and stuff in this, I'm like, did they know?
Oh.
Because this franchise has become what they're criticizing in this movie.
Yeah,
I know. It's ironic.
It's awesome. And what's frustrating is, lover of Jurassic Park, and I love Legos, and they keep putting out new Lego sets, Jurassic World Lego sets, and I gotta have them all. Mm-hmm. And there's a few that I was not able to pick up as they were current, and unfortunately the price has been inflated to the point where
secondary market.
I don't think I can fiscally be responsible and call myself fiscally responsible. Yeah.
I think I actually just saw something. Speaking of that, I think I just saw something. I think it's legit. I'm pretty sure it's legit. I think Lego just announced the Godzilla line.
Uh-oh.
I know.
You're in trouble now.
I'm in trouble.
Yep.
And they showed off minifigs. Godzilla minifigs.
You're in trouble
Yes,
now.
Jet, I'll buy yours. Assuming there is one. I already have 4 of you standing on my living room table. Are you happy about that? But buying all those Mondo figures, those are pricey, I might add. By the time I'm done, I'm going to have a whole Power Ranger team that looks like you. Because they're all different colors. I hope you're happy, Jet. That sounded happy enough. Anyway.
There you go.
Yeah. Funny, with the Category 5 hurricane, Mr. Attenborough slept through the whole thing.
Wow.
He just slept through. It was 9 hours, and he slept through the whole thing. And Spielberg asked him how he could do that, and he told him, "I survived the Blitz."
I mean, yeah, you can't argue with that. Sleep away, my good man.
Yep. So, like, so many interesting things that I'm just thumbing through these. Just like, what are the most interesting things? Oh, the iconic water ripple.
Oh, yeah.
They said that was the hardest thing they had to do for the whole movie because they couldn't get it to look right.
Yeah, that was actually, they fed, I believe, as a guitar string.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was sound waves.
Yep.
Instead of impact.
Yep. Because the sound guy just discovered that by accident. He was playing with a guitar at home and he had a cup of water sitting on the guitar. He's like, wait, that's what we need.
Yep.
And the whole idea came because Spielberg was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire in his car. And when the bass got loud, it would make the rearview mirror shake.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's funny where this comes from.
Yeah.
Oh, and we need to talk about the T-Rex roar.
Oh, yeah.
The T-Rex
roar. The sound effects in general. The sound design's brilliant. Yeah. Watching it with a little bit more critical, trying to pay attention to the artistry of it all. There's certain scenes where you can't tell if it's Lex screaming or the raptor screaming or Nedry screaming and the Dilophosaur screaming. Like they kind of like intertwine with the sounds, and it's really cool.
Oh, Dilophosaur. Yeah. Okay. Not your favorite one. Okay.
No.
But the T-Rex roar, that iconic roar.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people realize, but they combine several animals to get that. Predictably, they have a crocodile. Mm-hmm. Got a crocodile roar. And they had lions because you have to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that's they still didn't quite get it right. It still wasn't quite right because they wanted to get a bit of a screech in there. And you know how they got the screech? I'm sure you know.
Actually, I don't recall.
A baby elephant.
Oh, the elephant. That's right.
Not just an elephant, a baby elephant.
I knew there was an elephant in there. That's right. Okay. Yep.
So think about that, people. Lion, crocodile, baby elephant.
Baby elephant.
Yep. And the raptors are a dolphin mixed with a walrus.
Wow.
Sound design is interesting, to say the least. Yeah. Does it destroy the magic knowing that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
He told Laura Dern one time when they were working a long night, a day on set. He said, 4 hours hanging from a bone. You wanted to be an actress. Yeah, and they described the team of puppeteers who had to operate the big T-Rex prop from the outside as a symphony. Because it took a lot of them to do it, and they had to really coordinate to do it. And it made me think back to actually classic tokusatsu to make some more justifiable connections between kaiju and this movie. But Toho back in the day would need like 15 people to operate King Ghidorah. back in the 60s because they needed puppeteers to run the heads and the wings, but then there was a guy in the suit too. And so it was all of this effort that they had to coordinate. They had to do the same thing for Mothra. They needed several people to run the Mothra puppet offset. It's crazy. But
that is awesome.
Actually, this is as good a time as any, so I don't just sit here and just thumb through the gobs and gobs of notes that I have here. Let's ask the controversial question. Because yes, Michael.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, hold on to your butts. Because yes, Michael, I didn't have you on this episode because I wanted to have Bex back on, and you're on the show enough. And I podcast with you enough already. Eat it, Michael. But no, there was an infamous, let me tell you, episode of Kaiju Weekly where he and his co-host Travis got into an argument, and they weren't even talking about Jurassic Park. They were talking about Power Rangers, the movie.
Okay.
And I have no idea how, I haven't listened to the episode in a while. I don't know how they got on this tangent, but it went on for about 15 or 20 minutes. And poor Kaiju Kim is just sitting there waiting for them to finish. They got into an argument over the question, are the Jurassic Park dinosaurs kaiju? Unfortunately, dinosaurs are a bit of a gray area in the classification of kaiju. But what do you think, Bex? Are the Jurassic Park dinosaurs kaiju?
So remind me that kaiju stands for what? Strange creature?
Strange beast. That is what it means. When translated from Japanese, that's what it means. Strange beast. That's the literal translation.
Beast. Okay. So here we have genetically modified organisms, GMOs, right?
What? I am memeing that. I'm going to find a picture of the T-Rex from this movie and just label it GMO.
So we have genetically modified dinosaurs, organisms, whatever you want to call them, with frog DNA that can survive the lysine contingency. They have adapted to their environment to where they were all created to be female, but have found a way to breed.
Because life finds a way.
Finds a way. I believe it's Komodo dragons have been known to do that as well.
In the movie, it was African frogs.
Yes, West African frogs. Yep. And to your point, they seem excessively aggressive. Given those factors, and the velociraptor, this is the main point right here. Now, velociraptor, the real velociraptor, is very small. It's only going to come up to your knee.
Crichton got it mixed up with a different dinosaur.
With a Deinonychus, yes. The Deinonychus is the 6 foot tall raptor that you would associate with that size. So given that the velociraptor is, 3-4 times larger than what it should be, all that taken into account, I would say that these could fall into the category of being kaiju.
I'm not sold on that. I don't want us to go on a 15, 20-minute argument about this. I'm not sold on that.
And I haven't heard their argument, so I don't know if
I don't remember what exactly it was. But I know Travis made some of the same points you did about the being modified with frog DNA because they're not just straight-up clones because they needed to fill in the missing strands of DNA with something, with gene sequence with frog DNA. And it caused some of the weird things to happen. I'm not entirely sold on that because in the end they're dinosaurs and dinosaurs are more like animals. So they're not necessarily kaiju. However, I do have one exception.
Okay.
One exception. Later on in the franchise, that frickin' Indominus. That's
Rex.
A kaiju. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That thing's a kaiju. Yes. That thing has more superpowers than most superheroes.
Yeah.
That thing is ridiculous.
In the following comic books, so they had the comics, the graphic novels, or whatever you want to call them, of the movie, and then they tried to continue them with, little spin-off stories. They actually made the raptors semi-sentient, which I just love. I love the idea.
I also know that.
Yes, I do have those comics. So
wow, did they talk? Like in Jurassic Park 3?
No, they don't. They don't talk, but they make an attempt to, I guess, communicate with Ellie and Grant and cooperate with them. So
okay, that's those are probably kaiju then. If they got to that point, those are probably kaiju.
Yep.
But yeah, the Indominus definitely a kaiju.
Yes,
that thing is a kaiju. That does. Good luck. Jurassic Park, what are you doing? I know you're trying to compete with us, but really? Did you learn nothing? You learned nothing. I keep reopening that park. I don't get it.
People love dinosaurs.
They come to Monster Island. We have a few. Not a lot.
All right. So now we're trying to like say dinosaurs and kaiju, and we can have them together. We don't have them together. They're not the same. They are the same. Make up your mind.
I mean, we have several dinosaur kaiju here. We do. Gorosaurus. Godzilla, technically. Rodan.
Although pterosaurs technically aren't dinosaurs.
Oh, so good Lord. How pedantic are we going to get here? We might get into that argument at this point. Oh, good Lord. Do you really want to do this?
I'm done.
You're done. Okay. You're not one to argue anyway.
Well, actually.
Oh, no.
I heard from this guy named Backer.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm with Jet. I think now is as good a time as any to move on to the Toku topic.
I like it. They're very good.
You know, I'm the kaiju guy now thanks to the Monster Island Film Vault, but before that I was the superhero guy. I wonder if there's a way I could combine those.
Hey, Nathan.
Travis from Kaiju Weekly?
Yeah, I'm here because I need a co-host for a new Toku Heroes podcast.
Oh? What's it called?
Shin!
Standing by. Complete.
That's right, heroes. We are the Henshin Men, a tokusatsu superheroes appreciation podcast.
Join us as we watch several episodes of a TV series from the wide world of Henshin heroes and discuss their merits and cultural significance.
Starting with one of my all-time favorites, the original Kamen Rider from 1971.
We'll give out awards for things like the best action scenes and crazy what the Henshin moments.
So hear us every Monday in your favorite podcatcher to get your weekly Rider kicks.
Gotta go, because we only have a minute to Henshin it.
All right, Bex. We hinted at it a little bit already, but this was a moment, shall we say, in the history of cinema. It was also a moment in the history of paleontology, which is why I feel like it's very appropriate that we're talking about this movie as the finale of Ameri-kaiju, which I just realized I forgot to play that soundbite at the beginning. I'm going to add that in post. Yeah, Jet, you dropped the ball there. Nice job. I miss Jimmy.
Aw.
I miss Jimmy. But anyway.
Poor Jet. He's trying.
He's trying.
And just a side note, Jet, you might want to fix this chair. It's been a little creaky.
I've noticed, yeah. Yeah, oil can, Tin Man, fun stuff like that. I'm sort of picking up on what he's saying now. But anyway, because apparently this is a thing. They called the years following the release of Jurassic Park as the Jurassic Park age of the Jurassic Park phase, I should say, of paleontology, because there was a huge influx of enthusiasm for fossils and the pursuit of dinosaur DNA.
Sure.
Went on for years. And this was also at a time where they're making huge leaps and bounds in research into de-extinction, which is a term you're about to hear me talk about in this segment. And they made a lot of new discoveries that would normally go unnoticed by the popular press, like sequencing ancient weevil DNA.
Yes. Because we need weevils. We need more weevils.
I'm memeing that. We need more weevils. There's like a weevil Pokemon, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
There's a Pokemon of everything. Anyway, interestingly, there's a whole book dedicated to talking about the science in this movie.
The science.
Which I did not have time to read. It is in the library here, the Sakazawa Library, but I didn't have time to read it.
I have not read it. So.
It's an entire book, yeah. But it's called Science of Jurassic Park and the Lost World, or How to Build a Dinosaur.
Nice.
By Robert DeSalle.
Wait a second. I actually think I do have that book.
Of course you do.
Once you said How to Build a Dinosaur, I'm like, oh, wait. Yeah, that's in my...
Well, when you get back to Indiana, which tell all of my fellow Hoosiers hi.
I'm going to look at it, yeah.
Let me know if you have it.
I will.
Anyway, so it's no surprise that there would be huge interest in this. And I think I've also read that some have credited seeing this movie with them pursuing either archaeology or paleontology as a career field.
Yeah. If you had asked me in Bible college, what do you want to be when you get out of college? I want to be a paleontologist.
Really?
But I was in Bible college. Oh, sure. Yeah, I was in Bible college, but you know. That was always kind of on the background.
The otaku paleontologist?
Yeah, so that was kind of like my side hustle was in paleontology.
Otakuology. But yeah, de-extinction, like I said. De-extinction is taking an extinct organism and cloning it, giving it life in the here and now. That was a line from one of my sources.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but, you know, we like definitions around here. It's the academic in me. There is a woman, her name is Mary Schweitzer, which is funny. I read one of my sources that mentioned her in kind of a critical light, and then I looked at one of my other sources like, oh, she wrote that. She wrote this article, and she got criticized in the other one. And she actually discovered she wrote about this. She discovered a T-Rex bone that had intact blood vessels and blood cells with nuclei in it. This was in the 90s.
This is so amazing.
Had to compare it to ostrich tissue to prove it.
It is amazing.
And this is amazing, as you were saying, because soft tissue decomposes rapidly after death.
And
here's the funny...
this isn't the only time that they've found stuff like that.
Yes, this is true. And here's the funny thing. This actually confounded both creationists and evolutionists. By creationists, I mean specifically the young Earth creationists.
Yeah.
Because there are different schools of thought in creationism, people. Trust me, I know. Fun fact, I'm not a young Earth creationist. But I am a creationist.
Fun fact, I am.
That's going to be what we fight over in this episode.
I know, right?
But it confounded both of them because even by their very different timelines, the preservation of these tissues shouldn't have been possible. You know, whether you say 10,000 years or 65 million, it's like it still wouldn't work.
Right.
And they still don't know how soft tissues get preserved in fossils.
10,000 years is a lot more plausible than 65 million years. Just saying.
You might want to walk that back after we're done talking about my research.
Go ahead.
Be it known. I think Jed is talking about how, yes, that is on the record now.
All right.
Yeah. So, line here from one of my sources, quote, these studies show that small DNA fragments, as in less than 500 base pairs, still retaining enough of their original sequence integrity to identify the organism of origin would have to be less than 10,000 years old if the specimen was preserved in temperate climates. So this was from an author named Criswell who was talking about this, and he went into great detail about how fossilization works. And that includes moisture, humidity, and the speed of the fossilization. That's a big word. And the quote-unquote life of the tissues can be extended by lowering temperature. So if it's colder, it helps when you're talking about soft tissues. Because the fossils we typically see are bones. That's hard tissue. That's much easier to fossilize. So, quote, molecular biology laboratories keep DNA indefinitely in a freezer at minus 80 degrees Celsius, although no one obviously has done this for thousands of years. And kinetic studies predict that at polar temperatures, minus 50 degrees Celsius, the life of identifiable DNA can be extended to 100,000 years. But that's, as he points out, is incredibly difficult to do. And a lot of the other sources I looked at weren't even that generous. I want to point this out. I looked at different sources from different times, some that were closer to the release of the film and some that are newer. And there's still a little bit of, there's disagreement between them because I think of more research being done on the topic.
Sure.
So another line here from Criswell, quote, some proteins may last even longer, up to 1 million years, as small peptide fragments of the original complete protein. Other proteins, such as collagen, a protein found in bone, probably completely degrade in less than 30,000 years, end quote. But here's the thing.
Okay.
I was looking at another source, and most of the newer sources that I looked at, this is correlated. They say, here's the problem, though. DNA has a really short, comparatively speaking, shelf life. DNA decays at a rate of 521 years, and it loses half of its bonds during that time. So it just keeps going. So every 21 years, it loses more.
Yep. Assuming
that it's been preserved well.
It's like a shoestring that starts fraying.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. So they said that basically means after 6.8 million years, all the DNA bonds would be completely destroyed. So we're not even going to talk about an 80 million year old dinosaur. Okay. That's not going to happen, they say. I mean, although, some magic happened because, Jurassic Park is a thing. Now it says that they acknowledge the decay process, but they say that the holes are filled with, and the DNA sequence are filled with another genome. When we talked about that, it's frogs,
right?
In this, so they account for it, but there are a lot of scientists who are like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. And then there's the question of, even the dinosaur DNA have left, would it be intact enough that it would still be usable? But the funny thing is hearing about this actually reminded me of something that I talked about briefly. I wish I had researched it. But for Rampage, the previous Ameri-kaiju episode, it talked about CRISPR gene editing, which is the idea of to put it succinctly, it's removing bad genes in a sequence and then replacing it with good genes.
Yeah.
So it's a form of gene therapy that's being experimented with, and apparently created a couple of kaiju because some unscrupulous people decided to muck around with it. Because of course. But then, have you ever heard the term A-DNA? Ooh, small a too at the beginning.
I think I've read something like I can see it in my mind, but I don't know.
It stands for ancient DNA. So that's a thing that when you're talking about this particular subject, you're going to be dealing with aDNA. Okay. So, also from Criswell, quote, most of this aDNA information has been made possible from the multiple copies of microbial. We're going to get a little technical, people. Strap in. Hold on to your butts.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Microbial DNA, which also has its own little abbreviation, mtDNA, that are found in each cell, and the technology of the polymerase, I hope I said the polymerase chain reaction, or PCR. That's a term I saw in several of my sources, PCR. Mm-hmm. PCR is capable of amplifying millions of copies of a short stretch of DNA from just a few original aDNA molecules. The complete process of amplifying aDNA from an archaic source has many challenges, however, and it is possible that none of the published sequences are valid. The PCR reaction is sensitive enough to amplify DNA from just one molecule of sample aDNA. This means that DNA contamination from human and microbes that may already be present in the laboratory from people simply breathing microbes in the dust or previous PCR reactions may lead to amplification of the contaminating organism and not the intended aDNA, end quote. Now, that's something else that I found out that's an issue also with even just finding the fossils that have the stuff in it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it can be contaminated pretty easily. Yeah, because it'll be preserved in soil that either has DNA in it from, say, living or dead bacteria, but also from the humans who unearthed them.
Right.
In fact, I found out there was a study. I think this was back in, it didn't say when it was, but this was thought to actually be an urban legend, but it turned out it's actually true, sort of. But there was a study from the University of California, Berkeley, claiming that they had a 40 million year old bee with genetic fragments inside of it, so that one with dinosaur blood could be found. Here's the problem. That study got peer-reviewed and was discredited. That's not
fun. Sorry, Berkeley.
Yeah, that's not fun now, is it? Yeah. Yeah. And Mary Schweitzer and her colleague, Tracy Stater, they wrote about, like I said, finding a T-Rex bone in 1997 with red blood cells. They did a long series of tests on it, and they believed at the time anyway that it was really blood. They were freaking out. They're like, we got red blood cells. Really interesting story.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to find intact pieces of DNA because, especially in amber-trapped insects, we didn't talk about that. That was the thing. It was an insect in
that's
amber.
Right.
Mosquito in amber. That was a big deal. I swear I saw a news program from around that time that actually said they had found something like that. So maybe we can make dinosaurs.
Yeah. So at the Field Museum in Chicago, when we go, we like to look at all the little galleries where nobody else is looking, because they have all these small little galleries along the side, along this walkway, and they have this insect gallery that it's small. It's only probably a 6 by 10 foot room, and they have a display case of insects in amber. And I don't know if they were there because of Jurassic Park or before. I'm not sure how long they've been there, but I just remember seeing it, and I'm like, look, we could get some dinosaur DNA.
Well, of course you would say that. Yeah, but this piece was saying that even if they could find one, they would be lucky enough to get enough genetic material out of this insect to make one claw.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
We got plenty of claws.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. There have been some recent advances that could make this more possible. In fact, there are reports of a successful sequencing project, not for dinosaurs, but for a woolly mammoth.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So
a 10,000-year-old woolly mammoth.
Yeah. Well, they have quite a few specimens that are pretty well preserved. One of them being, I believe it's called Luvia. But it's a baby woolly mammoth. It's a baby mammoth.
Okay. Yeah. This also said they have one for Neanderthals. Got a genome from a girl belonging to an early species of Homo sapiens called the Denisovans, which are related to Neanderthals, they say, from about 80,000 years ago, they said. They know enough to know that this girl that they found had brown eyes and brown hair and skin.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And
so she looked like a human?
Apparently. Congratulations. And then it says, quote, to push the envelope even further, the entire genetic sequence of a 700,000-year-old extinct species of horse was published. It says this year in the journal Nature. I'm guessing it's a little more, it might have been a year ago then. It's not quite as recent now.
So they need to, with all this sequencing, we have remains of the last thylacine. We need to de-extinct. Is that what you called it?
De-extinct. Yeah.
De-extinct the thylacine.
The problem is that
would be awesome.
The problem is de-extinction is incredibly difficult. It's been tried. It's incredibly difficult. But there's another challenge. Even if you could find all of the proper DNA, there's another problem that they get around. The Jurassic Park gets around with its technology. It's incredible technology. And that's where you're going to keep the embryos. Now, in Jurassic Park, they get around it because they have synthetic eggshells.
Right.
From, I think it was ostriches?
Yep.
Okay. But, you know, like I said, it's still going to be a problem. So, from another one of my sources, quote, in 2014 technology, with advances in stem cell technologies and the ability to reprogram a blank cell with a new set of DNA instructions, perhaps this hurdle could be overcome if we can learn to piggyback on existing natural reptilian systems, end quote. And another one of my sources said, quote, this is because even with all the genetic information, the chromosomes have to be implanted into an embryo. Project Lazarus's embryos died after a few days, never producing a viable fetus. And I'll get to Project Lazarus here in a little bit. Interesting choice of names, guys. I'm just saying. Interesting choice of names. And you remember how they also talked about lysine in the movie?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of my sources said that vertebrates don't produce their own lysine, so it's unlikely that dinosaurs would have needed genetic alteration in the first place.
Right.
And the whole default female embryos. The funny thing is, and I remember hearing about this, it was actually believed for years, like they said in this movie, that embryos are female by default.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually being disputed now.
Interesting.
Now, more recent studies are showing that it has both male and female reproductive tracts in the embryo. Now, we don't know the specifics about dinosaur embryonic development.
Right.
It does say fossilized dinosaur embryos have been discovered, including one in China called Baby Louie.
Aww.
And that has suggested that dinosaur embryos grow fast inside of the egg. So they've
been able to identify contents of the stomach, what the dinosaurs ate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they bring up, one of my sources brings up the thing about the asexual reproduction with the frog DNA. That comes from a 1980s study. But here's the thing. The frogs could do that, but there was a lot of environmental factors that had to be met in order to make that possible. A lot of it. But, and now here's something. They didn't bring this up in the movie. Quote, an all-female species of whiptail lizard reproduces asexually. Parthenogenesis, the process of an unfertilized egg reaching maturity and ultimately hatching, has been observed in many reptile species, such as the dinosaur-like Komodo dragon, for instance. You brought that up. Raptors repopulating an abandoned theme park? Life finds a way. That's the actual line from my source.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not them changing sex. It's them laying an egg, an unfertilized egg, to actually extend the life cycle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then, like I said, the mammoth. Yeah, here you go. Here's something crazy for you. Here's Project Lazarus. All right, here you go. Quote, but we might see something that looks incredibly close to a real live woolly mammoth. A Harvard team has been working on splicing mammoth genes into the DNA of an Asian elephant. Probably one of those Thailand elephants, I'm guessing.
That's going to be so cool.
Yeah. The goal is to produce a hybrid. Oh, you want to take a guess what brilliant name they came up with for this thing?
Oh, goodness. Hybrid woolly.
Nope. That would be
Willy.
That's hybrid woolly. Was this the crocodile hunter? Hybrid woolly.
Hybrid Willy.
Crikey, it's a hybrid woolly. No, Mammophant.
That's a Pokemon.
That does sound like a Pokemon.
That's a Pokemon.
Mammophant, I choose you.
Oh, I should have guessed Fanpy or something like that.
Fanpy. Oh, so you got to turn in your Pokemon Otaku card now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
It goes on to say, but there is no saying how long that process might take, or if it ever gets approved due to the ethical dilemma around resurrecting a long dead species. Yes, we've seen Jurassic Park. We know. The closest science has come to a real Jurassic Park scenario is the Lazarus Project, which essentially cloned embryos of the extinct gastric brooding frog in 2013.
Oh.
Those embryos died after just a few days.
Aw.
Yeah. So there you go. So they tried to do it with frogs. Now, that's something that should be mentioned. It's funny how, I guess you could grant Jurassic Park a little bit of slack because it failed because of internal sabotage, because Nedry is a greedy jerk who somehow doesn't get paid enough by the very rich John Hammond. So industrial espionage.
Like, they didn't give us a comparison,
Right.
What he was being offered versus what he was being paid. I don't know.
Well, he is Newman, so what did you expect?
Newman.
Yeah. So I guess that's just what we're going to have to go off of. So, I guess you could cut, like I say, you could cut him a little bit of slack, but I don't know. It took an alien invasion for Monster Island to fall apart for a little while. I'm just saying. Disco Space Nuns versus one fat nerd. What do you think's the bigger threat here?
Hard telling.
Yeah. Also, just to be pedantic, my sources pointed out that most of the dinosaurs in this movie are not from the Jurassic period.
No, they're Cretaceous.
I'm like, okay, thanks, guys. Whatever.
But,
Cretaceous Park doesn't sound as good.
It's not as catchy.
Not as catchy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just like Velociraptor and Deinonychus. Velociraptor sounds way more threatening than Deinonychus.
It does. But speaking of velociraptors, you were talking about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
One of Crichton's favorite research books, which was called Predatory Dinosaurs of the World. That sounds like some great light beach reading right there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It mislabeled the quote-unquote bigger, better, what did you call it? Deinonychus?
Deinonychus.
Yep, as a species of velociraptor. So that's where it all went back to. It's one book got it wrong. You had one job, whatever you are. Do your research.
But that's how it usually happens.
It's too bad you didn't have Jimmy to fact check you. But then we wouldn't have the amazing velociraptors.
We'd have Deinonychus.
Deinonychus, yeah.
Yeah.
It actually, this portion of that I got from that source, actually, it says recent paleontological finds suggest that they were covered with feathers. Oh, good Lord. The whole big feathers thing now. That's like a big thing to argue about in the paleontological worlds. People get upset if you don't have dinosaurs with feathers. Oh, my God. With feathers.
Oh, I know.
Jurassic Park's trying to address that because they're like, yeah, we use different DNA because we like the ones without feathers. Whatever, guys. But anyway, And their arms like wings. Think big chicken rather than small dragon for an accurate image of a velociraptor. End quote. That is literally a line from a source right there.
I'll have to show you an image of like medieval drawings of dragons and how it kind of progresses into like early dinosaurs. And now we're going back into them looking more dragon-like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Depending on who you talk to, they would say, oh, dinosaurs inspired stories of dragons. And then other people say, no, stories about dragons inspired dinosaurs.
Yep.
And don't get me started about the contingents of Christians who are flat out dinosaur deniers. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think for Lost World, which is why I say this is one of the things that's so perfect that I'm ending Ameri-kaiju with Jurassic Park, because I started with the Lost World, the 1925 film, and we talked about the Bone Wars, which was basically the start of paleontology and the obsession with dinosaurs. And yes, I think we mentioned this briefly. Maybe not. I don't know. It's been a while. I've slept once since that episode. Where, yes, there are contingents of Christians who deny the existence of dinosaurs, and if you try to bring up fossils to them, they will tell you that those bones were planted by the devil and his demons to deceive people. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's terribly elaborate, I'm just saying.
I have a very hard time with that. Yeah.
Reverend Mifune doesn't buy it either.
Yeah.
Just, wow. I did not know that there were dinosaur deniers until, I think, like a couple years ago. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? Right? My parents
I've never met anybody that denies the existence of dinosaurs. I think it would be a lifetime achievement if I did.
My parents must have protected me from all the crazies, because I never met a Christian who denied the existence of dinosaurs. I mean, how boring must their lives be?
Right?
Without the joys of dinosaurs.
I feel sorry for them.
I feel sorry for them too. I bet they're flat earthers too.
Oh gosh.
The earth is flat and there are no dinosaurs.
We're going to offend everybody in this episode, aren't we?
So just the crazy ones. That's okay.
I think the people who are on the side of the argument that said dinosaurs aren't kaiju, or the Jurassic Park dinosaurs aren't, we've offended them.
Just go through the list. Okay.
We've offended evolutionists.
And creationists probably at some point.
We've offended creationists. Yeah. I think we've covered the gamut.
We've covered it. Yeah, we've covered it all. Which is why it would probably be a good time as any to wrap things up.
All right.
Alrighty. So this is something that we haven't done in a little bit, but I wanted to share this. We have a letter. Oh my goodness, we have a letter. Most of my listener feedback has been comments on the YouTube versions of the episodes, but oh my gosh, we got a letter.
Nice.
We got a letter from one of your fellow MIFV Max members, Bex, Christopher Reiner.
Awesome.
Christopher Reiner. Yeah, here's what he writes. He's actually talking about stuff that's actually on Patreon, but I'll answer it anyway. Yeah. He writes, "Hello, Nathan and Jimmy." He didn't know you would be in the producer booth, okay? Calm down.
Poor Jet.
Calm down, Jet. I'm afraid you're going to start frowning over there. Is that possible? Can you frown? There are reasons why people say you look like Jack Nicholson. I'm just saying. Anyway, I've been binging through MIFV and recently came across the MIFV Max #9 bonus Patreon bullcrap. Yes, I have funny titles. And I have a few thoughts to share. First, the Star Wars prequels are better than the sequels. Oh boy. He even says, "Fight me, Jimmy."
So now we've offended everybody.
Now we've offended everybody. Yeah, he says, "Fight me, Jimmy." You and Danny talking about a modern take on Jet Jaguar, and I got my weird little brain a churnin'. Here is how I would adapt Jet Jaguar for the Monsterverse. Yeah, Jet, I do hope you're listening. Okay, here you go. Here's his big brain thinking right here. Okay, here you go. As more Titans keep appearing, Monarch and governments around the world are getting more and more nervous. They get the idea of, instead of trying to find ways to control kaiju, they will find a way to make a human as powerful as a kaiju. I would have a jet fighter pilot. Oh, there you go, Bex. Tapping into one of your other passions.
Yes.
With the call sign Jaguar, volunteer for the project in a Steve Rogers kind of fashion. They outfit him with the Jet Jaguar suit that is supposed to allow a human to grow to the size of a kaiju. Inside the helmet is a modified orca translator that would help him to be able to communicate with kaiju so he could determine if they are friend or foe and hopefully avoid unnecessary battles. Yeah, just so you know, Bex, that's Jet's thing. He can talk to kaiju. In fact, he plays charades with Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Megalon. It's actually quite hilarious. The suit works, but there is a catch. It hurts a lot, and it puts a strain on his internal organs, so they start to fail and have to be replaced with cybernetics. This would take place over the course of several movies. He would end up befriending some of the kaiju like Godzilla, Kong, Mothra, etc., and helped to defeat others. However, the more he uses the suit, the more machine he is forced to become, until at last, in a battle, his brain, which is the only organic part he has left, gives out and he falls over, which causes great rage and sadness among his kaiju friends. However, Monarch has been planning to this and has been copying his brain sequences to a cybernetic brain, which they put in the now fully robot Jet Jaguar. When Jet Jaguar next appears, the kaiju realize that he is not the same and does not trust the AI, which would create conflict for the new Jet to overcome as he tries to fulfill his mission. This would start Jet's journey to trying to figure himself out, since he has all the original's memories and feelings and yet is not human. It would be a good human story to connect the audience to the movies. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Thanks, Chris, for sending that in. So that's basically Jet Jaguar. I told him a little bit. I chatted with him a bit about this. So this is Jet Jaguar by way of RoboCop.
Yeah.
So I think this is an interesting idea. I could see it working. It would probably take several films to develop that, because I don't think you could do this in one movie. So
no,
that would be a bit of a long game there.
Yeah.
But it does adapt a lot of the sillier things in Godzilla versus, the whole movie's silly, but it does adapt a lot of those silly things and make them make sense. So
you could do like a mini series.
Yeah, you could do a mini series on this, or a comic book series. I could see that working. Yeah. So I like the idea. I do like the idea. But like I said, it would definitely be a long game sort of thing to do. Yeah. Now, my idea for adapting Jet Jaguar into the Monsterverse it's similar to what he's talking about, because it eventually gets to an AI. I wouldn't do the human angle. It would just be an AI. And it would be an AI that was made to control a mech, because we have Mechagodzilla in the Monsterverse now.
Right.
But what happens is that the AI befriends a little boy. Like the guy who creates him, he has a little son, and the AI befriends the son, and they become best friends.
Okay.
So initially, he does things like jump into the mech and control it because he's trying to save the boy. That was my thought process, because that's the one part that gets left out in what Chris talks about, which is how Roxanne loves Jet Jaguar and is practically his best friend. Well, except Godzilla. Apparently Godzilla is his best friend. I don't know who's the best friend anymore. Who's your best friend anymore, Jet? No comment, sure.
Like I said earlier, every good adventure needs some children in there.
Yeah, see some children.
Needs some children.
No wonder Gamera keeps them around. All those Kennys. All of those dang Kennys. Those Kennys are everywhere, too. There's Kennys in all of Tokusatsu. Ugh. Got Sentai Kennys and Power Kennys. Ultra Kennys. Common Kennys. They're everywhere.
What about Sailor Moon Kennys?
Oh, yeah. Sailor Kennys. Looking at you, Chibiusa. Although I've seen brattier Kennys and more annoying Kennys. I have. And there is a bit of a variation name. Some people call the female Kennys. They call them Kendras.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But now everybody just likes using women's names to talk about different kinds of annoying women, because now we have Karens. I've also heard the phrase "Bah Felicia," so great, Felicia. Let's just ruin every female name out there. I've also heard your name used like that too.
Yeah,
I've heard some people refer to say "Knock it off, Becky."
Basic Becky.
Basic Becky. I just sure. Let's just ruin all the names at this point. No one will name their child anything.
Yep.
I don't know where that tirade, that tangent came from, but I'm done. But anyway, thanks, Chris, for writing in. I look forward to hearing more from you. I'd like to get some more letters, considering how much you are binging right now, sir.
Nice.
So much. So much. But now, Bex.
Yes.
Now you get to tap into your inner anime character.
Oh, I do?
Yes, you do, because now it's time for the Patreon shout-outs.
Travis Alexander.
Michael the Cheater Hamilton.
Danny DeMena.
Eli Harris.
Chris Cook.
Damon Noyes.
Bex from Redeemed Otaku.
I think she's in the room, actually.
Oh, that's me. That's right.
The Cellcast.
Eric Anderson.
Ted Williams.
Winja the Ninja.
Brad Batman Edelman.
Christopher Reiner.
Tofu Fury. Oh.
Ooh, that's pretty powerful there.
Yes. I still wish there was a Jackie Chan movie where he's a chef called Tofu Fury. Apparently there are animes, even shonen style animes about cooking.
Don't watch them.
Yeah, I know, because it's Food Wars. And let's just say it's not Bible college safe.
No.
Which is too bad, because it seems like it would be a perfectly fine and very well accessible show if not for that.
Right.
I was like, guys, why? Why? I get it, teenage boys, but...
Oh, man.
But I do know there are other animes about cooking, because there's animes about everything.
Of course there are.
There's animes about everything, people.
Except Jurassic Park.
Well, there's dinosaurs. What are you talking about? There's anime dinosaurs. They exist.
I'm going to have to go on a hunt for that.
Okay. So, here's the unfortunate thing, I have to say. I'm paying a small price covering Jurassic Park. Small price. Because the powers that be have told me. They have told me in private communications that if I'm going to talk about the competition, I have to talk about a movie that has the name of our little attraction here.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of them. Did you have one in particular? I might have to say no to the Carmen Electra movie because I don't know if it's podcast safe.
Definitely not Bible college safe.
Yeah, it's probably not Bible college safe either. But it's like, no, not that one. Okay, that's good. Which one are you thinking? the Asylum movie. I'm like, you're going to mandate that I cover an Asylum movie. Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how they made it. How could they make it? How is the legality of this? How does it even work? How do you even with the Asylum? How do you exist? Okay? How do you not get sued into oblivion? Which is why I am bringing Raymond Martin of the Monster Island Legal Action Team, a friend of mine. He's helped me out a lot this year. Just saying.
That's good.
Not in the courtroom, but in other capacities. And he may or may not be a superhero. I don't know. Speaking of superheroes. He's going to come on and explain to me how this movie exists. Because to call this a bootleg Monster Island would be an understatement. Because it's the Asylum, people. It's the Asylum. If you don't know who they are, I envy you.
So me and Tim, my husband, went to a small little area tabletop gaming kind of convention thing that they were putting together. And they had some few local authors and artists and things like that, right? And this one guy wrote books similar to what you're talking about. And he had one that was a Jurassic Park, but with zombies, he described it.
Of course. Because of course he did.
Of course. And of course I had to buy it.
Of course you did. So zombie dinosaurs.
No, they weren't zombie dinosaurs. It was an attraction with zombies in it.
Oh, instead of dinosaurs.
I thought it was zombie dinosaurs is what I was buying.
Oh,
and
see, zombie dinosaurs could be kind of schlocky fun.
Right? But it was not zombie dinosaurs. It was just zombies.
I demand zombie dinosaurs.
And it was terrible. Oh, it was terrible. Of course I had to read it too.
Of course it was. Of course it was. But
yes,
once we get past that, we move on to greener pastures. I've talked about this in the anniversary live stream, but we got to get the hype train a-going. And I don't mean the one that would interrupt us sometimes when we recorded at your house.
Right.
Okay, you ready for this, people? Season 4's a-coming.
Reptilicus is silly, but he really illustrates the great array of monsters all over the place. Not just in Japan, but across the planet. An A to Z gamut or gargantuan panoply.
Example, please.
Or name a land.
Belize.
Oh, geez, easy peasy. Mesa maze. See, in the Yucatan, you can meet El Cadejo, and Belize, they believe in him. They're not afraid to say so.
Scotland.
Nessie's living up in a lot.
How about Poland?
Scary crow named Babai.
So it's not just Godzilla?
Well, duh, Crow. There's a lot that could kill you.
Hey.
Tom.
Sorry, Crow.
Okay.
Roast.
Joe.
Yo, Jonah, how's the chorus go?
Every country has a monster they're afraid of in their nation.
Every monster has a country, yeah, a station they call their home.
What? What are you shaking your head for? Come on.
That is amazing.
That is the Kaiju wrap from the first episode of Season 11 of Mystery Science Theater. It is highly appropriate because it is the Monster Island World Tour. We will be talking about kaiju films that were made anywhere but the United States and Japan. That's why we just finished Ameri-kaiju. We talk a lot about Japanese films, and now we got to go talk about movies made in the rest of the world. Because, come on, every monster has a country.
Has a country.
We got monsters elsewhere. I mean, there's some fun. We'll be checking out movies made in Hong Kong and Thailand, and we'll go over into Europe. We'll finally make my friend Damon happy. We'll talk about Reptilicus from Denmark, which is how they talked about this. They covered Reptilicus in MSD3K. Go to England and talk about Gorgo. Remember Gorgo? We talked a bit about Gorgo, but it was a different Gorgo.
Right.
Mothra. I think I actually have you slated for that one because, come on.
We got to now.
We got to now. And that one, we're continuing the motif. It has a kid kaiju in it.
A kid kaiju?
It's a kid kaiju. There's a baby kaiju in it.
Aww.
Let's just say those screwy humans made a mistake of kidnapping the baby, and Mama ain't happy.
Uh-oh. I've seen a movie like that before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it's called Jurassic Park. What was that? The second one, right?
The Lost World?
Yeah.
The Lost World Jurassic Park. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You're going to sponsor that, aren't you, on MIFE Max? You're like, you had me on for the first one. We're going to talk about the second one.
There you go.
That or Santa Jaws, I'm sure. But
Santa Jaws. The greatest movie never seen.
But we will be kicking off this new series with, okay, fight me, people. Yes, I know I covered it on Henshin Men. I have a different guest this time. And yeah, I know I'm straining the definition of kaiju here. I don't care. I need an excuse to talk about this movie again. Super Inframan. One of the most bonkers things to exist. Bex, if you haven't seen Super Inframan, do yourself a favor.
I will watch it. But just hearing you say stretching the kaiju, what you would call kaiju, I mean, it just confirms in my mind that the Jurassic World dinosaurs can be called kaiju.
Well, no, wait. What I mean by that is there is a kaiju in it, but only for one scene.
Okay.
It's a monster who was human-sized, and then he magically turns into a kaiju, and then that's the only quote-unquote kaiju scene in it. There's plenty of other monsters in it, but they're just regular-sized monsters. They're just human-sized monsters. That's why I say it stretches it a little bit. But we do have that big red bug here on the island. I'm just saying. Yeah, I think he actually ran here because he didn't want Super Inframan to find him and kill him. Because Super Inframan made him shrink and then he stepped on him. Squished him.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. It's bonkers. And then after you watch it, you can listen to 2 podcast episodes that I've done on it, because on Henshin, I had our friend Chris Cook on, and he was not prepared.
Okay.
He wasn't prepared.
Nice.
But I'll be having my friend Danny DeMana on to talk about that one, who is an outspoken fan of this movie, because I don't remember exactly how he put it, but I think he generally describes it as beautiful insanity or something like that.
Okay.
Something along those lines. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird coming to the end of my 3rd season on this show. That's
awesome.
It is. It's I don't know. It's just weird to come to the end of something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we got 2023 coming up, and 2022 was a little rough and a little weird, but for all of us, I think. But
how does the saying go? Every end is a new beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and when you're a podcaster, that's definitely true. Mm-hmm. That is definitely true. But I'm done talking about myself. We need to do some shameless self-promotion. So I mentioned Henshin Men. Also go listen to The Power Trip, A Journey Through the Power Rangers franchise. Anyway, What do you got, Bex?
Well, I have a podcast that's floating out there in outer space somewhere. But
I've been shot into space before.
It's called Redeemed Otaku. I have it on, was it Apple Podcast, but a lot of podcatchers will pick it up. Mm-hmm. So you could check it out. Haven't been doing much with that lately, but we've been doing
Second Coming.
Yeah, we're definitely looking into reviving that. But I've been doing some YouTube videos as well, just some quick opening of Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering, and we just hit our 100th subscriber. So we're going to have to come up with something special for our 100th subscriber celebration.
Jurassic Park unboxing.
We'll have to come up with something.
A live
stream
of you building Legos.
Oh man, I have some that I tend to rotate, like build them and then I take them apart, and then I get out another set and I build them, and then I take them apart. And
you put on some relaxing music and just sit there and talk. It'll be like Bob Ross? It'll be like Bob Ross.
That's a good idea.
Except you're playing with
people
Legos.
Might really like that. Yeah.
And then you'll probably get people to tune in. There's like, oh, it's like Bob Ross, but with a beautiful woman. So I'll watch that.
So yeah, that's what I've got. The YouTube channel is Redeemed Otaku. Yeah, you can catch me there. And I have a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I haven't been like really active on those. But you can connect with me there. And we also have an email, redeemedotaku@gmail.com. So yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot. So
yeah,
with that, I've got some things that I gotta go take care of that's, shall we say, might shake things up a little bit around here on Monster Island. And I don't mean walking kaiju. But let's just say you're going to be seeing some ripples in all of the cups of water on the island. But not from what you think.
Not impacts?
Not
impact tremors?
Not literally, anyway. Not literally. All right,
well,
Jet.
I'll be sure to hang out with Jess a little bit longer while I'm here on the island.
Right. Also, yeah, please do that, because I think she's threatened to murder me several times. I keep trying to explain to her that I had reasons, but she won't listen.
I have no comment.
Probably a good thing. You've already had to separate us a couple of times already.
Yeah.
Anyway. Jet, cue those credits.
Thank you for listening to the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast produced and hosted by Nate Marchand. If you want to join the discussion and be heard on the show, we'd love to hear from you. So email us at feedback@monsterislandfilmvault.com. Our website is monsterislandfilmvault.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Monster Island Film Vault, and on Twitter, where our handle is @TheMonsterIsla1. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. Follow Jimmy from NASA on Twitter @NASAJimmy, and our many other colorful characters using the links in the show notes. The podcast logo was created by Tyler Souls from TylerDrawsComics.com. Our theme song is Wanderer on the Offensive, live edit by B33J, Sarax, Juan Madrono, and Nonsensical Lexus, which is a remix of Counterattack Battle with the Colossus and The Opened Way Battle with the Colossus by Kootani from the video game Shadow of the Colossus. All film and audio clips belong to their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended or implied. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and or Podchaser to spread the word about the show. You can also support us by joining MIFV Max on Patreon. The Monster Island Film Vault is a Moonlighting Ninjas media production. Sayonara! Nate Marchand, Personal Journal. Hoo boy! Winter's Day of Reckoning finally came today. Sorta. Slippery snake. Anyway, early this morning I got a call from Dr. Nick Tatopoulos saying Heat had everything to expose Cameron Winter. They just needed me to get them access to the boardroom. I was so excited, I didn't even drink a can of Kaiju Energy for the first time in months. I met all 5 members of Heat, Nick, Craven, Elsie, Randy, and Monique, at the main entrance at the base of the mountain. Scanning my lanyard allowed us to take an elevator ride all the way to the top floor. But as we stepped out... Dang it! The Space Beast Man is on duty!
Leave him to me.
You sure about that?
French Fry knows what she's doing.
Tua la cui dunicha.
Oh, the dumb as an oyster line. She means business.
You should know. She says it to you every day.
Save your spite for winter.
The Space Beastman lumbered toward Monique, slowly raising his axe overhead. But Monique just strutted right up to him and...
unleashed a flurry of martial arts strikes to the Beastman's knees, making his legs buckle, and then to his ears, nose, and the back of his neck.
Pressure points.
Monique, I love you!
She actually smiled at that.
Nigel could have saved her the trouble, since he's stuck in Jet Jaguar's body.
For the last time, Mendel, will you?
The Beastman reached for his axe.
Monique, look out!
Little Miss Super Spy spun around, pulling a pen from her pocket, and sprayed gas in the Beastman's face. He passed out.
Inconspicuous weaponry.
Enough fun and games. Let's thaw out winter.
I walked past the Beastman and scanned my lanyard on the boardroom door panel.
All right. It's big dang hero time.
There stood Cameron Winter at the podium on the other side of the table. He had the most punchable smirk I'd seen in a long time.
You came to the wrong Christmas party. This one's for genius executives only.
Stuff it, Winter. This isn't a social call.
You never were sociable, Nichols. Unless it was with the earthworms.
As amusing as it'd be to watch you alpha nerds duke it out.
Et tu, Marchand?
Funny, but let's get to the point.
We have it on good authority.
And by that, we mean a disgruntled ex-employee.
That you've been implementing unethical programs abandoned by the board.
Randy handed his tablet to Dr. Totopoulos, who tapped the touchscreen and turned it around to show Winter.
Project Chimera sought out to fuse several species using Energy's CRISPR technology. Operation Anthill experimented on the G-Ants with fatal results. And don't even get me started on the shenanigans surrounding Project Blobbermouth.
Just to name a few.
Unethical and illegal aren't necessarily the same thing.
The legal action team might say otherwise.
Especially since I extracted and reconstructed data from Nigel that shows some of your employees making shady deals with known criminals, like Hannibal Chow on the beta site.
Which I and a few people like Shinichi Ozaki can corroborate as witnesses.
That explains why Crazy Bernice conveniently attacked us when we tried to investigate.
Cute. Well, sounds like I need to clean house. We can't have the good name of Monster Island, and most importantly, me, sullied by the underhanded deeds of a few bad apples.
Yeah, and you're the farmer of the orchard.
What's your evidence? I'm the supervillain behind the curtain. That's what I thought.
Randy grabbed the tablet from Dr. Totopoulos and furiously tapped the touchscreen.
I suggest you leave before I call security.
Just try.
Oh, I heard you like it rough.
Shut up, Winter. Book him, Nico.
He gave Dr. Totopoulos the tablet.
Well, Winter. It looks like some anonymous source just gave us the last puzzle piece.
And what have you assembled in this libelous jigsaw?
These documents show you discussing, modifying, and authorizing all of these projects. But the most damaging thing is, you were doing all this for the competition. Jurassic Park!
Oh, you don't say.
Apparently, the Clone Dinosaur Zoo came to you over a year ago, wanting technology and research for some attraction to compete with Monster Island. I guess genetically engineered pseudo-kaiju like the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor weren't enough. So you swooped in when the board was in disarray after being outed by Nate here and bought a controlling share in Monster Island so you could send InGen samples of kaiju DNA for them to do all kinds of experiments with. It's all here in black and white.
Well, hot damn, you figured it out.
What I don't get is, why did you only use kaiju that first appeared in the United States?
American-made still means something, even when it comes to monsters.
American capitalism at its worst.
Crony capitalism, Frenchie.
Just fostering competition between the world's leading monster parks. I sell some of the island's assets to the good people of Isla Nublar to make bigger, badder dinos, and the island responds by adding more exotic and unusual kaiju residents. The constant one-upsmanship makes monster kids of all ages happy, and my pocket's a hell of a lot fatter.
Does the board know about your back alley deals?
They signed off on it.
Wait, what? Why would they do that?
Money talks, baby.
Of course it does.
Well, you should know, Marchland, you sold out your best friend and your clone sister for a job that doesn't even exist.
What the henshin?
I suspected you'd tap into your inner investigative journalist and start digging around, so I created the media master titled Keep a Closer Eye on You. But that's all it is. A title.
The job isn't real?
No, but you were great at the non-existent job. Feel free to put me on your resume as a reference.
My promotion was a lie?
Well, on the brighter side, you technically still have your old job, at least until the end of your current contract.
Small comfort.
Then call your lawyer friend, Nate, and have him throw the book at Winter.
And do what? Nothing I did was technically illegal.
It wasn't?
Unfortunately, no.
Winter took out his smartphone and tapped a few buttons.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Why's that?
I just finished brokering a deal between the island and Jurassic Park to share research. And Solistus will provide the resources to make it possible. Ka-ching!
Getting off scot-free again.
Oh, and I sold my shares back to the board as part of the deal, which means I'll be heading back to the States.
Who's the frying pan and who's the fire?
So please vacate the boardroom so I can finalize these details with my co-workers when they arrive. And be a dear French resistor and call security to have them take your handiwork to the infirmary.
Da Zutalo.
Oh, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
We all walked out feeling a bit defeated. Winter would leave the island, sure, but he once again weaseled his way out of jail time. As soon as the elevator door closed and I pushed the button for the ground floor, Tatopoulos exclaimed,
"Yeah!"
We were silent for the rest of the elevator ride. I realized I'd been living even more of a lie the last few months than I thought. I'd never been promoted. I compromised for something and nothing all at the same time. My contract renewal was coming up in January, and I'd have to pay the piper. Good thing I know a really good lawyer. Now it's time for me to get to my real job. End journal entry.